case.
All parties in the matter of Casey versus Kaup. Step forward, please.
Administrative manager Sally Casey is suing Lisa Kaup and her parents Bob and Adelina Kaup for the cost to fix her son's car.
Stand over there.
You may be seated.
Mrs. Casey, it is your claim that the defendant's daughter, I assume this young lady right here, totaled your son's car.
That's correct.
She was driving the car without permission. You want her parents to be responsible. Her parents say that he shouldn't have let her drive the car, and it's not their responsibility. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like all the parents to sit down for a moment. What's your first name?
Michael.
Stand up on your own 2 feet, Michael. Your name?
Lisa.
You too. Put your hands at your sides. Good. That makes you more vulnerable. I want you to tell me how you got possession of his car. And you look at me, and I want you to make sure of one thing. I don't care what kind of baloney you gave to your parents. I don't care what kind of baloney you gave to your mother. What I'm going to find out is how you got possession of his car. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The school should have notified me. I can't be with her 24/7 watching over her.
But if what you're telling me is that you actually believe that position, there is something seriously wrong with you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Michael Casey says schoolmate 16-year-old Lisa Kaup took his car without permission and wrecked it. Lisa says Michael willingly handed her the keys.
Let's go.
Okay. It was March 14, 2002. It was the day before my birthday. And it was 4th period, and my friends didn't want to go to 4th period. We thought it was a lame class. So
I want you to go slowly because I'm old and I can't hear you when you're speaking in 45 speed.
Okay.
It was your birthday. That's where you lost me.
So I had balloons and flowers, the whole 9, because it was the day before my birthday. And my friends didn't want to go to 4th period, so we decided to just go to school, but we didn't want to walk. And I had previously borrowed Mike Casey's car before. He said...
Shh. Go ahead.
So we wanted to borrow someone's car, so we found Mike. And one of my friends...
Who's we?
My friends, me and my 2 other friends.
Names.
Lisa and Gina.
So you found Mike where?
In the quad of the old school campus.
You were all together?
Yes. We approached him and we asked, Mike, can we borrow your car?
Who asked?
My friend Lisa. And then she said, Mike, can we borrow your car? And he said, go ahead, as long as you put gas in it. So then we took the car, we walked out of school, and we took the car, and we went to my friend Lisa's house. And then we jumped back into the car, and then we were pulling away from the driveway. I looked over my shoulder, but because of the balloons and the flowers that I looked over, and the car must have been in my blind spot. So then I pulled away from the curb real slow, and then the car came up, and the whole other side of the road was open, but the car didn't move out of the way. She just approached forward. And then so we collided, and but the left fender of Mike's car hit the front fender of the other woman's car.
Now your version.
All right, I was in...
No, look at me.
Okay.
And I want you to trust me. I don't care what story you gave to your mother. I want you to know that I have a truth machine back here.
All right.
Do you understand?
I understand.
Good.
All right. It was around 12 o'clock, right before lunch, and Lisa, her friend, came up to me. I didn't see this Lisa or her other friend. I don't know what the other friend's name was. But Lisa came up to me and asked me for the keys because I gave her a ride the day before, to school. She said she left a notebook in my car. She took the keys from me. I said, meet me back here in 5 minutes. So I waited for 5 minutes, waited for 20, waited for 30, waited for 40. I was called into the office. I saw them in the back of a police car come up. They said, your car has been totaled. I was like, how has my car been totaled? They said, it's been crashed. I was like, how has it been crashed? They said, well, Lisa Kaup was driving your car and she crashed it. I said, Lisa Kaup? I gave the keys to Lisa in the first place. What's the whole point here?
Let me see a police report.
This one?
Have you in the past let anyone else drive your car?
No. Ever.
That's not true.
Well, my grandpa the one that gave it to me.
No, I'm not talking about your grandpa. I'm talking about any other of your peers drive your car.
The only person that's ever driven my car other than me, one of my peers, is my friend Vince. That's all.
Excuse me, Your Honor. The first time that I had borrowed his car, we came back to lunch, and one of his friends came up to me and they're like, "What are you doing in Mike's car?" And we're like, "Oh, Mike said the keys are in the ignition, we can take it." He was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." He got in the car and he took off.
Who is
one of
this?
his other friends. Sean.
Sean came up to you and said that?
Yes. He came into the car and he took off with the car.
Sean took off with the car?
Yes.
How did you get the keys to the car on that date?
We said, "Oh, can I borrow your car, Mike?" And he was like, "Go ahead." I was like, "I don't have my license, I just have my permit." He's like,
How
"I
did
don't
you
mind.
know my
The keys
name?
are
I've
in
never
the-"
met you. I never met you before that.
He was like, "Oh, I don't mind. Go ahead. The keys are in the ignition."
Okay. Now,
Keys are in the ignition?
just a minute. Now you can stand up. I tell you this. Even though I have some question about how she got control of that car, you're responsible, because she's responsible. I have some serious questions as to whether, when he just gave her the keys to the car, this other girl who said, "Go get your things out of the car," I left a notebook there because I was in the car a day before. I'm not so sure. Your daughter has no right to drive a car, right?
Right.
She knows she has no right to be driving a car.
Correct.
She was driving the car in a negligent fashion because she had all of her balloons in the back so she couldn't see what was going on. So what makes you folks think she's not responsible?
Well, she is an unlicensed permit, has a permit only. And she was given the keys by the boy, and he knew that she didn't have a driver's license. Why would he give the keys to her
Where
when
is
she
her
don't have a driver's license?
Where is her responsibility?
She should have known. But
So, where is her
I dropped her off
responsibility?
at school. I expect her in school. And if she is tempted by someone else that's unresponsible and not driving the car, or in giving her the keys to drive the car, the school should have notified me. I can't be with her 24/7 watching over her. And it's high school. I mean, she's no little baby.
There is something wrong with you. Unless you're telling me that you're trying to make it a situation better. But if what you're telling me is that you actually believe that position, there is something seriously wrong with you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Michael Casey says schoolmate 16-year-old Lisa Kaup took his car without permission and wrecked it. Lisa says Michael willingly handed her the keys.
She's blamed everybody else but herself. I guess she gets that from you.
No.
It was the other lady who had plenty of room to go around them but didn't. It wasn't the fact that she couldn't see out of the back window because of all the balloons. It was the other lady's fault. It was his fault because he gave her the keys, or the other Lisa the keys, and Lisa gave her the keys. She has a responsibility. And since she has no money, it falls on you.
She shouldn't have been given the keys.
She had no right to take it.
I agree.
Let me ask you this question, sir. Where do you live?
Rosemead,
Where is that?
California.
Okay. Have you ever been to Las Vegas?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You're at the airport waiting to go to Las Vegas. You see a couple of pilots coming out. They're going to get on your plane. One of the pilots says, "Oi, I have such a terrible headache. Mr. Kaup, would you please take the keys to this 747? And would you take the plane and fly it into Las Vegas as a co-pilot, because you need two people in the front cockpit in case something happens to the pilot. Would you do that?
No,
Why not?
I'm not going to jeopardize my life or other
Right,
people.
because you don't have the wherewithal to fly a plane.
Right.
You've not been properly trained to fly a plane. Even though this pilot gave you the keys and says, "Go start it up and take off."
I would have
You wouldn't
refused
be an
it.
idiot, would you?
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't be an idiot. Well, your daughter's an idiot.
She should have known
That's-
better. I agree.
Right, there we go. Now you're getting to some responsibility.
She should have said, "No, I don't want the keys," but she didn't.
No, she went and asked for the keys. Don't you understand? He didn't say, even according to her, "Here, I'm going to find Lisa and give her the keys to the car because she's got all these balloons and flowers." They came looking for him, according to her story.
But he could have said no. He didn't have to say yeah. He knew that I didn't have a permit.
I think it's genetic.
I say no. When
You
my other
said-
daughters want to drive,
Right.
I tell them, no, she should have been paying attention.
That's it. Now, look, at least I made a convert out of one of you. He didn't do the wrong thing. You did the wrong thing. I want you to repeat after me. I did the wrong thing.
I did the wrong thing.
That's better. That didn't hurt much, did it? Let me see the bill to fix your car.
There's that. There's the impound.
Did you get the car out?
No, it was useless. You couldn't be driven anymore.
You have pictures of this car?
Yes, I do.
Good. How did you deal with the damage to the other car?
I'm pretty sure my insurance company paid for it.
Yes, Your Honor, may I interject here?
Stand up.
Actually, what had happened was I had contacted my insurance company and explained to them that my son had been involved in an accident, and the insurance follows the car. Therefore, my insurance covered the damage to the Lexus as a result of...
The car that was damaged
Correct.
by her. That's a very good insurance
Yes.
company you have. So now I'm going to give you the bad news. I don't believe your story. I believe that you are partially responsible. I think she's more responsible than you are. Your total damages were $1,992, and I am attributing 1/3 of those damages to you. 2/3 to her. That comes to $1,328. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So you have to understand something. If you're given the keys to a car, and you're given a car to drive, you don't give those keys to anybody, whether they want to get a notebook, whether they want to listen to music, whether they want to do anything. You keep the keys to your car in your pocket, because the only one who's going to suffer out of this whole thing is your mother.
I understand.
Because her insurance is going to go up. She had a lot of aggravation, all because you wanted to be a nice guy. And as far as you're concerned, I have made your father a convert. Your father now understands the word responsibility. I hope that by repeating the phrase that I gave you 100 times in the mirror every night, you will also understand that if you do something wrong, you're supposed to fess up and say, I did it wrong, it was my fault. Do we understand each other?
Yes,
A
ma'am.
pretty face only gets you so far. That's all.
Why is our excuse? You may step out.
Was lying about the whole situation.
The parents seem to be very irresponsible as far as the actions of their children.
What's happened has happened, and at least that's not the full amount that I have to pay.
I'm just glad I got my part of the money.
It's not like it's a one-way street here. He gave me the keys, and I took it in return.
Don't give your keys out to chicks.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cochran versus Saylor. Step forward, please.
Film operator Mary Cochran is suing her former roommate, 19-year-old cashier Jackie Saylor, for unpaid rent, an unpaid car loan, and the return of her personal belongings. Jackie says Mary has already been paid.
Miss Cochran, the defendant and her baby moved into your home.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you were being nice to her. How did you know her?
I met her at work.
And she needed a place to stay with her baby?
No, she had an apartment at the time. I was really quite impressed with her when I met her. She was 18 and working very hard to take care of her baby on her own. She went to work like 2 weeks after she delivered this baby. I thought that was quite admirable. And she was living in the apartment. It was very tiny. She was always telling me how her aunt and the rest of her family complained about helping her out, taking her places, doing things, watching the child, so on and so forth. And I was about to begin to go through a divorce myself, and I thought that it would help her out to get her out of this teeny apartment, and it would help me out to have someone additionally at the house. She could go ahead and move in with me. I told
You have children?
No, ma'am, I do not.
So you just wanted her in your house for company?
No, I thought it would help us both. We had became friends at work.
Okay. But it was for company, not to watch your children in exchange for
Right,
living.
right,
Okay.
certainly.
Your lawsuit seeks a couple of things. First, you say that you helped her out, purchased a car. She put down the down payment on the car, and you put the rest of the payments on your credit card, and she was supposed to pay you back. Is that right?
Not quite.
Okay. Well, tell me where I'm wrong.
What we had done is we put the entire amount on the credit card, and then she made the payment. She had managed to save $1,100.
So she made a big payment.
She made big payments to me.
And then she was supposed to make...
And she was supposed to pay at least the minimum on the credit card bill to pay it off.
Okay. and you claim that there is still a balance owed for
Yes,
the car.
ma'am, there is.
Then, despite the fact that when she first moved in, there was no agreement that she pay rent, you say that at some point she wanted to pay rent, and you agreed that she would give you some money for rent, and she owes you for 2 months' rent. Did she ever pay you rent?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
How many months did she pay rent?
She paid me for May. She came to me in April and said that she felt bad. And I told her, you know, I could certainly use it if she didn't mind. And she paid me May's rent, and she paid me all but $25 of June's rent.
Okay, so what does she owe you for July?
She owes me the $25 for June and the $250, which was the figure that she chose.
When did you move out?
She
Miss
moved
Saylor.
out.
I moved out on August 6th.
Did you pay July's rent?
No, I did not pay July's rent.
Okay. And then you say when she moved out, she took some property of yours. You want to tell me what property she took of yours?
I have the list here. A blouse, some art pads and books she was interested in drawing and such, and I had some Disney books. A couple of the things that are on here, she did return to me prior to our initial...
Are we talking about nonsense? I don't want to talk about nonsense. I want to concentrate on important stuff. Is some stuff that you gave her? Like
yes, and I have deducted that amount.
Are we talking about nonsense with the things that she took from the house? I don't want to talk about a blouse. I don't have time for a blouse. You know. Are we talking nonsense?
I suppose so.
All right, I don't want to talk nonsense. We're talking about July's rent, and we're talking about the car. How much do you claim she still owes on the car?
She still owes me $2,452.82.
Can I see what documentation you have, please?
And that also includes the futon that she bought. That's all on the same card.
Did you buy a futon?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take it with you when you moved out?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was this credit card used solely for her?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes.
You paid some off. You say you paid everything off.
I paid what we originally agreed. We didn't talk about interest in the original agreement. I had no idea I was supposed to be paying her interest. When I was paying
Well, you're
her,
not paying her interest.
Well, the card. She told me I didn't have to pay the interest on the card.
Did she?
Yes. There was no agreement about me paying interest.
No,
on
there's
the
a
card.
difference between no agreement.
She didn't tell me anything. She said that, I mean, there was no talk about it at all.
But
She didn't tell
how do
me-
you think that the credit card company makes their money? Finance charges how credit cards make their money. If you don't pay the whole thing off, then you have to pay the finance charges. She's not charging it to you. They're charging it.
Well, I mean, I think
Who's supposed to pay the interest on the credit card? She allows you to buy a car and took out the money from the credit card. And you're not paying the whole amount off at one time. You're paying little bits at a time, right?
Yes.
Well, who's supposed to pay the interest to the credit card company? 17% interest. Who's supposed to pay that?
I mean, we didn't, I was 18 years old. I didn't know nothing about credit. I mean, she didn't even bring it up. I didn't know nothing about it. I'd never used a credit card before.
You don't live on Pluto, madam. You know that credit
Yes,
cards...
ma'am.
You know that credit cards charge interest. That's how they make money. You're not stupid, are you?
No.
How much in payments did you make in total?
I'm not exactly sure. I didn't get receipts from her. I just paid her, you know, cash. Whenever I had extra cash, I would give her whatever I had. The payments ranged from $100. Once I paid her $200, almost $300, just whatever I had extra that I didn't have to buy diapers and stuff with.
Why did you leave?
I left because when she met her boyfriend, she was staying out a lot, and she wasn't taking care of her pets. They had fleas. She wouldn't get rid of the fleas in the house. I had to feed them and clean up after them. They would come in and make messes and then leave, and I would clean it up. And I just decided that I didn't want to anymore, so I moved out.
Where did you go?
I went to my father's.
Did you take your car?
Yeah.
What kind of car is it?
It's a Pontiac Grand Am.
Well, with the $250 in rent, you owe $2,703 to the plaintiff. That's what you owe her. You paid a lot off because the original price of the car was $3,375.01. And when was that purchased? March 20th of '01? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So you paid a substantial amount off, but 150, 100, 150, that doesn't go to pay all of that off in a year. Do you understand? Because your defense is that you paid off the whole car. And even from what you tell me, you couldn't have paid off the whole car. Anyway, there are no other charges on this car other than that. So judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,703. Anything else that I have to decide? Nothing. Thank you. That's all.
All right, Judge Judy, you may stay.
Judge Judy seems mouthy, but fair, I guess.
Well, try not to wear a giant sucker sign on my face anymore.
I don't appreciate the accusations of me stealing things from her.
Very difficult. It was not something that I care to go through again.
She did help when I needed it, and that's good.
Once in a while you find someone that you feel is deserving, and all they need is just a hand for a little extra push.
She called me on the phone, and I returned what I actually had and that she didn't give me.
I'll be a little more wary about giving that hand.
The other things that she gave me, I kept.
Choose your friends wisely.
Get receipts.
Safety coordinator Corey Wacker is suing his ex-fiancée bus driver Sandra Jo Matza for phone calls to a psychic hotline. Sandra Jo is countersuing for the cost of a wedding dress and the return of her engagement ring.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 23 on the calendar in the matter of Wacker versus Matza. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Wacker, you and the defendant, according to what I've read, were engaged to be married and were living together since 1999. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it is your claim that when she moved out, you got a phone bill of $1,500 for the psychic hotline, and you claimed that the calls were her calls.
That's right.
But you acknowledge making some of those calls yourself.
Not the 900 calls.
You made no 900 calls
None.
yourself. Okay. Ms. Matza says she admits making half of the calls. She said you did make some of those calls. Her defense is that while you were together, she put her money in an account that was used for paying household bills, and there was more than enough money there to cover that phone bill. In addition, she has a counterclaim because she says you took back the engagement ring, you stole it out of her jewelry box, and she wants you to pay for the wedding dress because she had no reason to break off the engagement. That's your counterclaim, right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So you started to live together in 1999, and you broke up when?
January 17th of 01.
Now, how did you handle the finances between 1999 and January of 01? Did you have a joint account, or did you have one account to pay bills, and was it your account?
I put together a joint account, okay?
So you had a joint account.
Right. I had canceled out the joint account during when we had a problem before that January 17th date. I canceled all that account out, so that account was gone. Everything was in my name.
In the year 2000, did you have a joint account?
Yes.
And did you both put money into that account?
I did, yes.
You mean the defendant didn't put any money into that
Very
account?
little.
Very little is not an answer. She put money in that account.
Yes.
So if she put in any money into that joint account is both of yours. Because no court, not this court, is going to go back for a year and figure, well, I put in $500, she put in $25. I put in $2,000, she put in $500. It's not going to happen. As long as she put in some money, that money was all of yours. Now, tell me the month you closed out that account.
It was closed out in January.
January of 01. Mm-hmm. Oh. And how much money was in the account at that time?
About $200.
You have any paperwork to prove that?
None.
Now, how did you handle the finances with regard to rent and...
I paid all bills. I signed all the checks. I signed all the mortgage payments. I signed everything. Everything was in my name because she couldn't have an account. She owed everybody so much money for everything that never once nothing could be put in her name.
Okay. Now, during the time that you were together, had the defendant ever made calls to the psychic hotline before?
Never. Never, never, never. She'd like to go to psychics, though.
But this was the first time she had ever used the psychic hotline.
Correct. Matter of fact, the January 17th, was a date I told her that it was time for her to go and move out, and that's the exact date that she started making these phone calls.
Can I see the bill, please?
Absolutely.
So what were you trying to find out from this psychic?
Your Honor, it wasn't only me. It was him, too, okay? And he was not only calling these psychics
Judge, that's untrue.
Shh, don't speak. You see how quiet she was?
Because they were calling his house approximately 4:30 every night asking for him. He not only started this with calling these psychics, he went on the online at nighttime calling them, too. And I am the witness for that because I was sitting right alongside of him watching this.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Wacker?
I'm a safety manager for second largest school bus company in the United States.
You work Monday through Friday?
Yes.
What time?
Usually from 8 in the morning to 5 at night.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a school bus driver for the first largest school bus company, Laidlaw. And I work
Just your hours of work.
6:30 to 5.
You drive kids to school and then you go home.
Yes, and I do trips in between.
Just a second. You drive kids to work and then you go home. Okay. Well, some of these calls are in the evening.
From that January 17th date on, I didn't spend very much time at home. As a matter of fact, I made sure I wasn't at home.
Okay.
And because I didn't want to be anywhere around her. As far as me making any phone calls to the psychic hotlines, there's a 1-800 number that you can call to get a voice stamp. Every one of those phone calls had her voice on it as a voice stamp.
All right.
Which means she made the phone call. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Now, I got the psychic calls. Psychic calls were $1,400.
Right.
Right? Okay. Half of that is $750 because he was still living together. Now, I want to move on to you. He took the
Yes, ma'am.
engagement ring?
Yes. He stole it out of my jewelry box while I was in the process of moving.
That's okay. He's entitled to it back. He should have asked for it nicely, but he's entitled to it back. Engagement is over. Ring is given in contemplation of marriage. It goes back to the person who gave it. That's him. Let's get to the wedding dress. That's the wedding dress?
Yes, ma'am.
So why should he pay for it?
I can't wear it. I can't even sell it. I've put things in the courier post. No calls. I cannot sell
I don't think
it.
it'll fit me. So.
Cute.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Corey Wacker says ex-fiancée Sandra Jo Matza posed for unauthorized phone calls to a psychic hotline. Sandra Jo says Corey made those calls with her.
What other arrangements were made for the wedding?
None. There was no hall booked. There was no caterers. There was no music. There was
a
nothing
date
booked.
set?
Yeah, it was supposed to be July 7th.
Okay. And when did you buy the wedding dress?
I bought it in September, the year before, 2000.
Why?
Because he told me it was time, everything was serious.
Time for what?
For us to be engaged. So he told me, go out and buy your wedding dress, and that's what I did.
So, put it away. Maybe you'll use it again. He's not paying for that. But you also understand, Mr. Wacker, that I have to make a judgment with regard to these bills. You and the defendant were living... What? I'm speaking. You and the defendant were living together as a couple.
Correct.
Bills being paid as a couple. If, let us say, this relationship did not terminate in January or February and she made these psychic calls, what you would have done is had a fit.
I had a fit anyway when I saw the bill.
Well, but by that time you had a fit and you didn't have any of the perks that go along with the relationship. But if you were together, it's like, you know, one mate going out and buying 6 pairs of shoes. What are you, crazy? 6 pairs of shoes? You only have 2 feet. What can you use 6 pairs of shoes for? You have a big fight. And then it's finished, and you move on. You don't say, you're going to pay for every one of those shoes, go out and get a job. You don't, whatever.
But may I interject?
Yeah, you may, but you get where I'm going, sir.
Yeah,
you were a couple.
But at that point, from the 17th on, or actually, the night before that, the 17th, okay?
Yeah.
It was the 16th, is when I told her to move. Technically then, we weren't a couple anymore.
Yes, you were.
And she made these calls, and she made these calls, and she shouldn't have, because she's trying to find out whether or not the relationship's going to continue to work or whatever. You know what I mean? Well, I guess who it was, Miss Cleo, or whoever she called, told her I guess it wasn't going to work, or didn't believe her, so she kept calling her. You know, I just don't feel I should have to pay for all of her phone calls when it was a proven fact that she made the phone calls with the voice stamps. Her voice is on every one of those
You're
phone
not
calls.
following me, sir. You're trying to say the relationship was over at the time when I told her it was over. You're living in the same house. You've been living in the same house for a couple of years. She needs time to put her things together, to find another place to live, to do all of those things. That's what happens
But
when
I'm
one
not
of these
asking her to pay anything else.
Hey, listen to me very carefully, sir. That's the drill. You're a couple. You come in here and you say, first I'm a couple, then I'm not a couple. You want your things back. You want the engagement ring back because the engagement was over. You're entitled to it back because it's over. Had you been married, you wouldn't get the engagement ring back. There are certain things that a relationship has as intrinsic to the relationship. In this case, since 1999, the bills were paid out of a joint account up until a couple of days before you decided to terminate it. So you lived as a couple. half of the psychic bills come to $737. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $737. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
By the way, I wouldn't have needed a psychic to know this relationship was not going to work.
I can't believe she lied up there like she did about saying that I made these psychic phone calls.
He's a user, a loser. I'm glad she's got him, and I'm glad I'm out of it.
That's ridiculous.
I put closure to this. He can't. He needs to end it and get on with his life. I already did.
I guess she figures that these psychics are going to tell her what to do and all. I'm not going to deal with that, you know.
He's an idiot.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tate versus Enrico. Step forward, please.
Community advocate Valoria Tate is suing her neighbor, Secretary Laura Enrico, for slander and damage caused by her cats.
Miss Tate, it is your claim that the defendant's cats damaged some of your property. The two of you are neighbors and share a common garage and storage area. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And that sometime later, when you tried to remedy this situation yourself, the defendant posted flyers around or passed out flyers in the neighborhood accusing you of trying to poison animals and children.
After her neurotic behavior.
Okay. So how long have the two of you been neighbors and shared this common space?
I've lived there 5 years, and I'm not sure. I would say she's been there maybe 2 years.
Year and a half now.
Year and a half. You have two cats?
Yes.
Now tell me about this common space that you share.
I have pictures of the common area.
I'd like to see them.
That's supposedly where all of us can use the patio area. And I explained to my neighbor that I'm highly allergic to pets, and I can't go down there and entertain myself or my friends as long as cats are living on our tables.
Go ahead.
So I have several pictures.
Is this the common space that you share?
That's part of it. That's in the garage, and that's my personal space. That table was made for me. It's actually higher than a normal
Just
table.
show me the
Okay.
Just show me the private space that you have for storage.
Please.
Okay. So tell me how her cats destroyed your property.
Well, it's before they destroyed my literature that I placed in my garage and covered it very well with bags and mothballs, they've already destroyed a couple of plant pots, and used the bathroom in my plant pot.
Did you see that, or did you just
I
assume?
saw that, and when I saw it, I nicely went over to Laura and I told her, "Your cat's potted in my plant and my pot," and she would come over, clean it up and say those few nasty things, but she would clean it up. The second time I did that, she was a little more angrier, and she literally went down to the patio, to the common court area, and she turns around like this. "Some people don't want my cat to, but not poop." Laura has this thing about you can't tell her to clean up behind her own pets because she feels, as she kind of indicated, cats have a right to.
All right, she'll tell me what she feels.
Okay. So therefore, I went to the management. They said they have approached her several times. They pointed out in the CNRs, the rules, that we can only have house pets. In fact, I asked my owner before I moved. I said, "I'm highly allergic."
Can I see the house rules, please?
Yeah. I told him, I said, "I'm highly allergic to pets. Do they have pets?" He says, "No, only house pets."
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valoria Tate says condo neighbor Laura Enrico owes for property damage caused by her cats. Valoria also claims Laura distributed a slanderous flyer calling her a pet killer.
Well, I've read the rules, and the rules clearly say that no pet is to be in a common area. Dog has to be kept on a leash at all times. Is this a picture of your cat on the table?
I can't see it.
Would you give that to her, please?
It's a black cat.
And is your cat a black cat?
He was, yes.
Now, after certain of your property was destroyed, and in your complaints say that you found that her cat urinated on a box, right? And there was literature in that box.
Yes.
What did you do?
What did I
According to your complaint, you put mothballs around the area.
Oh, the reason I put the mothballs is before I left for the trip, her cat was in my area up on top of my boxes. I have never seen the cats on the boxes before at that time. So I went into the house, I had some mothballs, left the boxes on the boxes so you can see what they were, and I went on my trip.
Okay. You had a confrontation with the defendant and a friend of hers accusing you of trying to poison children and animals.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you said that there were some flyers that were distributed. I'd like to see those.
Your Honor, the flyers was placed on everyone's door in our entire complex. There's 26 units.
Did you place this around?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
You got some nerve. You got some nerve.
I have concern for the animals and the children in the complex.
I want to tell you something. You got some nerve. If you have animals that in any way interfere with your neighbor's peaceful enjoyment of their property, you keep your animals in the house. What right do you have to let your animals outside into common areas, on tables, on chairs? What right do you have to do that? None. And you are so arrogant, as to say the last line here is, if you have a problem with allergies, dislikes, phobias, or such about animals in the building, it might be suggested to move to another building. And you go through this whole grandfather clause because two people had cats that were outside. You say now it's grandfather, so your cats can be outside. If you want to have house pets and you want to let them outside, go buy a house in the woods and let your animals out in the woods where they don't bother anybody. But you live in a condominium complex where there are lots of other people. And it is possible that some adults, some children are afraid of cats. Somebody might want to come and put their lunch on the table, and your cat has just been walking around after walking around in feces, now walks around on the table. That's outrageous. And your reaction is, what? Cats will be cats? I mean, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not, but my cats aren't the only ones in the courtyard. We have a lot of strays that come into the garage and come
That
into the
may
courtyard.
be. She can't complain about strays. Strays are not your problem. Your problem is your two cats. Because you are an owner or a tenant.
I'm an owner.
As an owner, you should want to do everything that you can to preserve the integrity of your space. What are you laughing about? Are you on medication?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not, Your Honor, but the demonstrations of irrationality never occurred. She threatened me. She followed me.
Let me ask you this question. Did you ever check with the management company to find out whether Miss Tate ever had any problems with prior tenants?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Did you ever have problems with prior tenants?
No.
I would say that you probably didn't. You keep your cats in your house because that's what the rules say. Specifically, rules that you gave and you signed for when you bought your condominium specifically said that only these two people, long gone, could have their cats out in the courtyard. You signed it. I assume when you signed it, you read it. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
So why didn't you abide by the rules you signed and read? Rules are your cats stay in your house. Yeah, right. And this is nasty.
Don't like having my animals threatened to be killed.
Well, why don't you keep your animals in your house?
I will from now on.
Perfect. Did we just solve that problem?
Yes, you did, Your Honor.
Fine. She doesn't mention your name in this, does she?
No.
Now, it's very possible that other people knew what she was talking about, but she doesn't mention your name.
May I share with you why she didn't have to?
Go ahead.
Because she made such a big scene about I was trying to kill these cats and children. All the neighbors heard it, and then she called the police. Well, they knew there was only one person she was referring to.
I can't tell you what they knew.
But
she does not mention your name in this flyer. But certainly, Miss Enrico has agreed at this point, is that right, Miss Enrico, that you will keep your cats in your home from now on?
Yes.
Is that correct? Is
Yes,
that right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That seems to solve the problem. I will prepare that order, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Laura has a little problem.
She's irrational.
This person that you're seeing talking out, I guess she took her values.
I was afraid for the other animals and the children in the building.
All the other neighbors try to work these out.
I had no idea what I was being sued for.
She'll work it out eventually, hopefully.
I have better things to do. I do not like dissension in my life.
Maybe you've learned a lesson. No, grow up.
19-year-old bank teller Erica Perkins is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 20-year-old account manager Carl Spratling, for an unpaid car loan and for the return of a dinette set. Carl is countersuing for an assault and for damage to his property.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 46 on the calendar in the matter of Perkins versus Spratling. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Perkins, thank you, Bert. According to your complaint, you and the defendant have known each other a very long time. You lived together for a period of time. And while you were living together, you made a loan to him in the amount of $400 to fix his truck. And then you claimed that you purchased a dinette set for the apartment. When you left, or when he put you out of the house, he kept the dinette set. So you want the money that you spent on the dinette set and the $400 loan for his truck. The defendant says there were never any loans. He paid all the bills. Whatever you bought into the house, you bought really to, take care of your end of the bills. And in addition, when you left, you destroyed certain things in the house, and you really damaged his property, doors, threw around his clothes, and whatever. So we'll get you a counterclaim in a minute. When did you move in together, Miss Perkins?
In September.
How long had you known him before that?
About 5.5 years.
And were you planning a long-term relationship with him?
Yes.
What was the financial arrangement when you moved in?
Well, he paid all the bills there. I got most of the groceries, and I paid my car note and insurance and my other bills, because we were both using my vehicle at the same time.
You were using your car?
He had my car most of the time because I was at work. I was working 2 jobs, and he had my car throughout the whole day.
What was he doing with your car?
I would get dropped off at work at 8:30, and he would come pick me up from work at 5.
So he was working during the day?
Right, until, well, he went to work at 12.
So now tell me about this $400 loan.
Well, in November, he asked me, could he borrow $400 to get his car fixed? And I said, okay.
So he had a car?
But it was never working. He needed the money to get it fixed, so I let him borrow the money.
Fine. Can I borrow $400? Is that what he said to you?
Yeah, so I let him borrow. He came to the job.
Can I borrow $400?
Yes.
And when did he get the money?
In November. November 28th.
Did you make any arrangement with him with regard to paying back the money?
No set date. He said he was going to give it back. And I asked him plenty of times, can I get the money back? And he would say, okay. And we came across a couple of situations agreements that we might come by.
Miss Perkins, listen to me carefully. I don't want you to make things up as you go along.
I'm not.
Good. Okay, you gave him the $400. You continued to live together.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, he got the money the day that, he got the money November 28th. That's when everything went down. That's when everything happened.
Is November 28th the day that you separated?
Yes.
When was the last time you lived in the house with him? November 28th?
Actually, it was November 27th. The night of November 27th, which turned into November 28th. That's when everything happened, because he had went to the hospital because he had got the young lady pregnant when we were together.
And she was going to have her baby, according to you,
that night.
Day. Okay. What about this dinette set? When did you buy the dinette set?
In October. I gave him the money to go pick up. The dinette set was, they was purchased separately. The chairs was purchased at one place and the table was purchased at the other.
All right, so how much is it, $400?
No, the whole dinette set was $650.
Okay, Mr. Spratling.
Yes, I say I don't owe Erica.
I don't care what you say. Did you take $400 from her on the 27th or 28th of November?
Erica did give me $400.
Did you take
Yes.
$400 from her on either the 27th or the 28th?
Yes, I did.
And when did you put her out of the house?
That same night. That same night,
And what did you do with the $400?
I used that $400 to get my car fixed.
That's pretty coincidental.
Right. If I may, on the 28th or whatnot, I called Erica, let her know that my car was down, and I had needed some money to go ahead and get my car fixed. Erica, being my woman at that time, went ahead and gave me the money. I never went ahead and asked Erica. I never went ahead and told Erica let me borrow any money. Erica went ahead and gave me that money or whatnot to get my car fixed. I never once did I say let me borrow the money or can you loan me this money. By us staying together whatnot, I went ahead and just took it as if we're together whatnot. I didn't ask you for a loan or whatever. I asked you if I told you my car was down. You went ahead and just gave me the money. I never told you. Well, Erica.
I heard that already. Move on. That night you put her out of the house, correct?
Correct.
Want to tell me how that came about, sir?
My daughter was being born or whatnot. I went ahead and called Erica, letting her know the situation. And Erica told me that if I stayed overnight at the hospital or whatnot, that she was going to, ruin my apartment or whatnot, because me and her she was getting upset or whatnot.
No, I told you.
So then called and asked my younger brother and my cousin Nisha here, if they can go ahead to my apartment, make sure that Erica doesn't, you know, leave and ruin my apartment at the same time. And that's when Erica and my cousin then got into an altercation or whatnot.
Well, Erica got a little crazy and started to throw around your stuff. Isn't that right, Erica?
In my bedroom.
I don't care what bedroom it was. He started throwing around his stuff. Is that right?
Yes.
You were pretty angry.
I was very upset.
Oh, okay. So you want to tell me what you think she owes you?
$2,400.
For what?
We got harassment, damaged property, harassment.
What's the damaged property? Forget harassment. You ought to be harassed. What's next? You ought to be harassed. She wouldn't do it, I'll do it.
All right.
Tell me about the damaged property, sir.
Well, Erica went ahead and, like, the day she came over, on the 28th, she came in and kicked in my door.
Show me the bill. Did you kick in his door?
I didn't kick in the door. I had keys to the door. I had no reason to kick in it. My sister kicked in the door.
Was she with you?
Oh, yes, she was with me.
Good, so you're responsible. Cost them $100 for new locks. What else?
Then, that right there is for, can I see this, please? That there is for assault or whatnot. This
for
is
what?
Assault. Erica also came over to my house again after we had already broken up or whatever, banging on my door or whatnot, almost getting me evicted from my apartment or whatever. She then kicked the door, breaking my molding and whatnot.
All right.
This here's the police report for that.
I don't care about the police report. Where's the bill?
I don't have a bill for that.
So how am I supposed to figure out how much that cost? What'd you kick in his door for,
I've
Erica?
never kicked in the door. I've never kicked the door at all.
All right.
I've never did it.
Well, since he doesn't have a bill, I can't help you anyway. But you certainly are responsible for new locks that he had to put on because your sister kicked in the door. Because your sister was
I
angry.
told her
She
to
came
stop
over with you.
kicking it in because I had the keys to the door. So
She's
it was no
your
reason.
responsibility, my dear.
I don't tell her what to do.
Fine. Then you know what you should do? Sue her for the $100 because it's coming off your claim. Do you understand that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, what else?
A broken chain. The day Erica came in, the second time she came in and assaulted me or whatever, she broke my chain.
That was my chain.
Shh, shh. No, it wasn't. You gave it to him.
No, I've never given him that chain.
Oh,
He
really?
wore it throughout the relationship. I've never said, here, you could have this chain.
Oh, stop.
I let him wear it.
Stop it. How many years has he worn it?
A year.
That's a long time.
I mean,
now it's
even
become his.
we
Adverse
have been-
possession. Listen, now it's his. She broke the chain?
Yes, Your Honor.
My
Oh, put it back in your pocket. What other damage? Let's hear. Let's hear. You want to give me any other nonsense? I really have a very busy day.
Oh, that's basically all.
Good, fine.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were dumb enough to buy it, pay to
Why would I
have it
have
moved.
to pay for it? I mean, I'm not
Listen, you
understanding.
want him to keep the dinette set?
No, I want the dinette
Then
set.
get it.
And later today,
Why don't you have a job? What do you
I was
do?
going to school. I was getting ready to go to school.
Going to school and getting ready to go to school.
I had
dialing different things.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Erica Perkins says ex-boyfriend Carl Spratling owes for a loan and for the return of a dinette set. Carl says Erica gave him the money so he could fix his car.
All right, where's the dinette set?
It's in my apartment.
Good, you're going to give it back to her. And we're going to pack it up and we're going to give it back to her. And you're going to give it back to her in very, very good condition. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. I have a question.
Well, I'm not usually here to answer questions, but in your case, I'll make an exception. What's
Okay,
your question?
Well, basically, my question is, why am I giving her a dining room set, which I told Erica not to purchase or whatnot, due to our relationship, we were already on shaky terms. I asked Erica not to purchase this dining room set.
Yes?
I said, Erica, don't buy this dining room set because...
And she didn't listen? Erica?
Okay.
Shut up. So what's your question? You told her not to buy it.
I told her not to buy it or whatnot.
You told her not to buy it.
Correct.
And she bought it anyway.
Correct.
So what's your question?
So I'm wondering, like, I told her not to buy it. She purchased it anyway. She told me, I was like, well, Erica, I don't want you buying this dinette set due to the fact that if me and you were to break up, that, you know, you're going to want to take it with you. I quote, Erica sat there and told me that if me and her was to break up, I can have the dinette set. She was just going to leave with her items.
I want you to be quiet if I need you. So what's your question?
Why am I returning it when she told me I can have it?
Why are you returning it?
Correct.
I'm going to give you the answer. Because I said so. That's the answer.
Right.
For the same reason that you're going to give her back the $400, which now becomes $300 because I'm taking $100 off for the locks her sister broke. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff following $300 in cash, plus the dinette set is to be packed up. 5 days from today, you arrange for it to be moved to wherever you want it moved. Do you understand?
So I will have to pay for the expenses to it for me so that it could be removed.
You have to pay to have it moved. Yes, you were dumb enough to buy it, pay to have it moved.
Why would I have to pay for it, though, to be moved? I understand, but I don't, I'm not
Listen, you want him to keep the dinette set?
No, I want the dinette set.
Then get it! Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If she wanted, she can have it. I buy my own.
I mean, he did get a young lady pregnant when we worked together.
He told her not to buy it, and she wanted to buy it anyway. It was her stupid decision.
Commercial fisherman Harry Burroughs and his wife Beth are suing their deceased son's friend, 25-year-old construction worker Cameron Britt, and his mother, Judy Britt. The Burroughs claim Cameron refuses to pay back a car loan.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 37 on the calendar in the matter of Burroughs versus Britt. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Burroughs, it is your claim that you loaned the defendant. You're not a party to this. Could you have a seat, please? That you loaned the defendant $3,000 for the purpose of purchasing a car, and that he has not repaid that loan. The defendant says that he did in fact repay the loan by working for you in your fishing business. That's your defense.
Yes.
Put your hands down. How did you know him?
I met him through a friend of my deceased son's.
How did that come about?
It just happened through because of my deceased son's friends, were coming over to support us over because of his tragedy of his death.
When was that, sir?
Be year June 12th. Be a year.
And tell me how this car loan came about.
I've been helping out some of the kids, that had been having hard times and so forth, financially, and getting them jobs and stuff like that there because, I felt like I wasn't doing enough for my own son when he was here, and so I was kind of reaching out to him. A lot of the kids were showing up, and we all became real close.
Did you ever give any of these other friends money?
Yeah, money, and I got them jobs and everything, and they all pretty well paid back, and they're doing good.
All right, now tell me how this loan for a car came about with Mr. Britt.
He needed wheels to get a job, to get back and forth to work if he was going to get a job.
Is that what he told you?
Well, he said wheels would help.
Well, then what kind of conversation did you have with Mr. Britt about the car?
Well, it was $3,000, and he said he would pay back $200 a week. I told him I thought that was a little steep and kind of hard, with him having 2 kids and everything and staying with his parents. And I said, well, you can just pay me maybe a smaller amount. But he said he could pay $200 a week, no problem.
Okay, so you wrote out the check for $3,000 for the car.
No, I gave cash to the guy who had the car, with Cameron and his mom standing there.
And the only reason that the defendant's mother is here is because I gather from your papers there was an arrangement that the car would be titled in her name.
Right.
Why was the car going to be titled in her name?
Because Cameron is on parole or probation, whatever, so he has to stay at her house. She was able to keep up with him better than I was. If the title was in her name, she would hopefully do the right thing if he didn't come up with the money, but weekly like he was supposed to do.
Now, did he pay you in cash any of this $3,000 back?
Yes.
How much?
He paid me $150 2 times.
When?
The first date he doesn't know. He didn't write a date beside it, but the second time was on February 11th.
And what happened after February?
We went on a fishing excursion for the weekend.
Are you a commercial fisherman?
Yes, I commercial fish, and I also work as an operator at a coal terminal.
When he went with you fishing, was that on your business?
See, it can be either business or pleasure, because sometimes the fishing's not good, and sometimes you catch enough to eat, and sometimes you catch more than enough to eat, and then you can sell some of the fish and make money. But it was a weekend away from everything, I guess, is what you would call it.
Okay, but after February 11th, he didn't give you any money.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Britton, now I'll hear from you, sir.
How are you doing?
Excuse me?
I said, how are you doing this morning?
That's not relevant to this case.
All right. Well, our agreement was that if I fished with him 4 weeks for 3 days a week, that my car would be paid for. which that didn't happen. I fished the first week, he bought the car.
Okay, your agreement was if you fished with him for 4 weeks,
Right.
3 days a week,
Right.
then the car would be paid for,
Exactly.
and in effect, you would be making $750 a week.
I should have been earning more than
No,
that.
no, no. But that would mean,
Right.
based upon your statement,
Right.
working 3 days a week,
Right.
3 days a week, that you would be earning $750 a week,
Right.
or $250 per day.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you say that was your agreement.
Right.
Did you fish with him for the 4 weeks?
The first week I fished, we come back. He bought me the car. We was leaving to go fishing that next Wednesday. That same Wednesday morning, he gave me the $3,000. We went to the place. I bought the car from who I bought the car from. So I fished that second week with him, 3 days. We come back. The next week we go down Wednesday. I was stuck till Sunday, which equals 6 days. So I figured that 3 days a week for 4 weeks, if I fished 6 days the last week, I was through.
So you're telling me that you fished every day, and every day you fished, you made money?
Oh, he got $1.75 a pound of fish, and we was bringing fish in that was 25 pounds a piece, and he would bring 80 of them in. You can average his money up. And I didn't get none. I didn't see none of the money. I was supposed to get a quarter. I'm a boatmate. I didn't get a quarter.
How many people were on the boat?
Me and him.
Just the two of you?
And he didn't do nothing but drive. I caught everything.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Harry and Beth Burrows say their deceased son's friend, Cameron Britt, owes for a car loan. Cameron says he paid them back by working on their boat.
Mr. Burrows, on the days that Mr. Britt went fishing with you, did you do it for commercial purposes, sir?
On some of the occasions, yes, and some of the occasions, not.
When you had your best day, commercial fishing, how much did you make?
The best day, around $1,200.
How many days did Mr. Britt fish with you when he was not paid?
We probably fished together 7 or 8 times, and there was never agreement on paying him anything. You know, anything I was to give him was out of my pocket, out of the kindness of my heart.
No, I don't believe that's true.
You know,
Mr. Burrows, listen to me. I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that that was his understanding. Why would anybody who needed money go out to work with you and not expect any kind of compensation?
He didn't have a job. He wasn't doing anything else.
Can I
Well,
say
where did he get the money to give you the $300?
probably Social Security that he gets for his 3 children because their mother is dead. I would assume he gets Social Security. I don't know.
He
for
wouldn't
them.
get them unless he had the children with him.
He does. The mother is dead.
I raised my kids, but she gets all that money. I don't get none of it.
Okay, but he gave. Now you gave him, Mr. Britt, according to Mr. Burrows, $300 in cash.
I've given him no money.
No, I don't believe that. Listen to me. I do not believe that you didn't give him $300 in cash, sir.
I ain't signed nothing.
I don't care what you said you didn't sign, Mr. Britt. The plaintiff would not say you gave him money if you didn't give him money. That would be stupid of him to say.
I didn't give him no money.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You know what your problem is? Your problem is you're trying to make a case that this was for barter, and you feel as if you gave him any money that would take away from your case, but that's not necessarily true. What is true is, since if I don't believe you about something that you say to me, I tend to disbelieve other things too.
Right.
So there would be
Honestly, I
no
didn't give him
reason
no money.
for him to lie and say you gave him some money.
The reason to lie, I don't know either. But I gave him no cash. None at all.
Really?
I wasn't working. You just heard the man. I got the car out of work and I had no money. I lost my job for fishing with him. I was working at Superior Structures, and because I fished with him, I lost my job.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing?
Mm-hmm.
That during the fishing part of the time, we were friends, but the car come to me for working. I never had a deal to pay him no money. Where the money come up is the last week when he didn't have nobody to go fishing and make him another $15,000. He got mad. He threatened to burn my car, My car was keyed up. Somebody had punched the hood. I bought the car because I liked it, and I got the bill of sale where I had to go sell my car and buy me a $300 car. And him himself has called my cell phone. I should have bought it with me. Threatened to burn my car.
He's angry.
Well, I understand he's angry, but I paid
He's
for
angry.
the car.
All right, good. I'm ready to make a decision.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
He got violent and had to be thrown out of my house by a police officer. And throughout our relationship, he's hurt me.
Listen, you mean you're talking about throughout the 2.5 or 3 years you were living together?
Yeah.
Then you don't get paid for that. You end the relationship, you don't get paid for that.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy, Harry and Beth Burrows say their deceased son's friend, Cameron Britt, owes for a car loan. Cameron says he paid them back by working on their boat.
Mr. and Mrs. Burrows, I think that you probably tried to do a nice thing for Mr. Britt by laying out this money for him to have a car. And I think that it is unreasonable to assume that Mr. Britt would invest days of his time without compensation in your commercial fishing venture where, according to you, you made probably $1,200 a day, sometimes more, sometimes less.
Sometimes nothing.
Lots of times
Sometimes nothing, but that's not his fault. That's not his fault. He's not your partner. So, according to you, Mr. Burrows, he worked for you fishing about 7 times. And I am gauging 7 times at the rate of $250 a day. And from the $3,000, I am deducting $1,750, which leaves a balance of $1,250 that he owes you. Now, I would ordinarily deduct from that the $300 that you say he paid you, leaving $950, but Mr. Britt is insistent that he didn't give you any money.
I didn't.
So I'm entering a judgment in your favor in the amount of $1,250. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I think they were crazy.
I tried to help out somebody in need.
Told me he was gonna burn my car.
He made an allegation of burning my boat.
He's trying to put me back in prison now. He's got all other kind of charges on me.
Sometimes the good guys just don't finish first.
19-year-old college student Eloisa Gibbs is suing schoolmates 25-year-old Brian Mbemba and 20-year-old Mitch Seiden for denting her car during a fight. Brian is countersuing, claiming Eloisa is trying to get him expelled.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 108 on the calendar in the matter of Gibbs versus Mbemba Seiden. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Who is Mr. Seiden?
Brian.
And what's your first name?
Brian.
And yours?
Mitch.
On your birth certificate?
Mitchell.
Mitchell, I'm not your friend.
Okay.
Mitchell. Now, Miss Gibbs, did you know Brian and Mitchell before this incident?
No, ma'am.
Stand up straight. According to your complaint, Miss Gibbs, you're sitting in your car, and these 2 idiots were having a fight.
Yes, ma'am.
And they ended up on the hood of your car, causing dents in the hood of your car. You want them to be responsible.
Yes, I was studying for a final.
Sitting in your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Brian and Mitchell say that A, there was no damage to your car, and B, if there was damage to your car, the other one did it.
Okay.
And then we have Brian, who is counterclaiming, because he says that because you are vindictive in pursuing this matter, he will probably be expelled from school and wants you to pay for his semester's tuition. That's your counterclaim. Is that right, Brian?
Yes, ma'am.
Please don't laugh. Please don't laugh at Brian. All right, Miss Gibbs. What was the date of the incident?
May 13, 2002.
What time?
It happened, I'd say, around 1:40.
In the afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did this happen?
This happened in Nassau Community College by B1 in the south parking lot.
Did you see this fight before it ended up on the hood of your car?
I saw it from beginning to end.
Tell me what you saw.
I saw Brian walking towards the school, and he was passing a green Chevy Malibu. And in the green Chevy Malibu, there were 2 girls and Mitchell. As he was passing, I guess somebody said something. He stopped, turned around, walked back towards the car, got into a confrontation with one of the girls through the passenger window. That's when I saw Mitchell exit the car. Brian began to argue with Mitchell. They got into each other's faces. Brian hit Mitchell, and they began fighting. That's when I saw Brian.
Would you just a second? Would you go over and have a brief word with him?
Sure.
Thank you.
What I need for you to do is I need for you to respect this court. So
Yes,
if you
sir.
would stand up straight.
Yes, sir.
And try to restrict your laughter.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
My man.
We're sorry to disturb you. You have your train of thought?
Yes.
Brian hit Mitchell.
Brian hit Mitchell. They continued fighting. Next thing I know, Mitchell's body is on my car. Brian is on top of Mitchell. I see him hit Mitchell a couple of times. Then Brian completely flees the scene. At that point...
Took off?
Yes. When he took off, I got out of my car, confronted Mitchell, told him, look at the damage that you've done to my car. I want this taken care of. That's when I got the phone number of one of the girls that was in the car with him in the green Malibu. So I can get in touch with him to get the money for my car.
Have pictures of your car?
Yes, I do. I have the police report. I have pictures of my car.
Let me see it all.
The whole time that this was happening, I was on the phone with my boyfriend from the United States Merchant Marine Academy.
Thank you. So it wasn't the hood of your car, it was really the side
It was
panel.
the side front panel of the driver's side, and there were some dents on the hood. And an object couldn't have done that, like me hitting something or something
No.
crashing into my car, because the paint is in perfect shape. There's no scratches or anything.
Okay. Now, Brian, I would like you to tell me, you're passing by this green car, and evidently you wanted to say something to one of the gals in the car. Tell me what you said to her.
Well, actually, what happened was somebody shouted something from the car. There was a laugh. There had been a lot of ridiculing by these people before. It was finals week, and I was going to walk away, but I was under so much pressure from my test. I said, you know, I'm tired of putting up with this. I went back to the car.
What did they say?
They were laughing. Somebody shouted a profanity I'd rather not say. And
You could say it, I've heard everything.
call me a...
Someone in the car?
Yeah.
Male or a female voice?
It sounded like a female voice. So I approached the car, and right away they started denying it, and we mixed words. Mitch got out of the car, and we...
When you say you mixed words, what did you say?
You know what? I can't remember word for word. I maybe, you know, just yelled back and forth. Here's where the true story starts now. He got out of the car, Mitchell. We confronted Elias, my witness. He was involved too, although she never even remembers him being there, so I don't know which fight she was watching.
Which actually I don't.
Elias comes up, he tries to break us up. At the time, there was really going to be no confrontation. What happened was, Mitchell, I don't know, like, went to push me away a little bit, and I made contact with him. At that time, he turned around, he went to his car, he grabbed what was an ice cleaner, you know, one of those brush stick ice cleaners, and he came at me to hit me. Elias tried to grab him to stop him. I tried to grab the stick. That's when we got into a scuffle, which lasted about 20 seconds, maybe 25 seconds. I never threw the first punch. I never ever put Mitch on top of the car. And after the thing, I did not flee the scene right away. We walked away, we calmed down. I left the school so there would be no further problems. I never even seen her there. I never saw a car get hit by anybody. I wasn't on a car. I surely didn't put him on a car. I didn't punch him first.
Now we'll hear from you.
Well, I was in the car with the girls, and we were laughing, just waiting for class to end, just hanging out in the car. And Brian had walked by. I don't know if they made a direct statement towards him, but he took it that way, came to the car, started telling the girls he's gonna strangle them, or like, you know, like just do it, you know, being a bully. And he asked me if I had a problem. I said, no, you know, I got no problem. So he told me to get out the car. I got out the car to try to tell him, relax, you know, we don't need to fight. You know, you're 25, I'm 20 years old, there's no need for this. And he headbutts me. So I fight back, and then as I'm fighting back, his friend comes and they say they broke it up, but where I come from, if you get into a fight one-on-one and the other person's friend grabs me, I think, you know, it's a two-on-one. Then I went back to the car, got a shovel, you know, a scraper to defend myself because he's a pretty big guy, little guy, got his friend with him, and with two girls. I struck him with it, you know, I had to do what I had to do. And then we had a little scuffle, this and that. I don't know if we dented the girl's car or if it was done like that already, but she had confronted me saying this happened, and if it did happen, then I'll take care of it, but if not, then I don't really think we did that damage.
Now I'd like to hear about your counterclaim.
Yeah. Up to this point, I have no previous record. I have no arrest record. My academic record is stellar. I made the dean's list the past 2 years. I'm too old to be getting involved in frivolous encounters. She tells the dean, and her story has so many holes in it, it's hard for me to even sit there and listen to it. And now because of this, my records are impounded, so I can't transfer schools. The least I'm going to get is academic probation, which ruins my scholarship chances, which I have plenty of. And at most, I'm getting expelled. So I'm going to lose a half semester of my life for this, for a false statement, because I know
Absolutely 100% I did not dent her car.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. You
Yes,
know
I do.
one thing. You know when you were passing the green car and somebody called you
Yes, I know that.
that you
too.
should have kept walking.
I should have. But
Right.
Your Honor.
That, you know.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
At the moment when these two were,
Look right here.
oh, I'm sorry. I don't know, Brian was just a little upset at these
Look at
two.
me.
And later today,
I said I will definitely honor our initial agreement. I don't in any way want to
stick you.
Right. She started to get really upset.
Well, just show me the rest of the payments that you made.
That's the only payment that I made.
Why?
That's
Why?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. College student Eloisa Gibbs says her car was damaged during a fight between schoolmates Brian Mbemba and Mitch Seiden. Brian and Mitch are blaming each other.
So you're dealing with a couple of girls, 19, 20-year-old big mouths.
Yes.
Right? Who call you a name. You're not a are you?
Constantly, absolutely not.
All right. So that you knew it wasn't true when they called you that bad name.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So you keep on walking.
I understand.
You keep on walking. That you know for sure. Then we go back to the police report. Police interviewed witnesses who stated that Mitch Seiden was the person who exited the vehicle to fight, and that they did in fact fall on the complainant's vehicle.
Okay.
Independent witness, not her. You had no vendetta against her. She doesn't even know who you are.
Absolutely.
Why
But
in the world?
I see this as an opportunity to make money off of something that was already there. Hey,
Oh,
look,
really?
fight, opportunity. Let's make these guys pay for my damage.
My boyfriend saw my car prior to me going to school and knows there was no damage
Miss
to my
Gibbs,
car.
If
Miss
my
Gibbs,
girlfriend,
Miss Gibbs, you need not answer him. Now, in all fairness to you, Brian, you have a witness here. I will hear the witness.
Thank you.
Who wants to stand up and be counted?
I'll stand up, Your Honor. At the moment when these two were,
Look right here.
oh, I'm sorry. When these two were all fighting, there was no force against any car. Nobody fell on any car. There was no need for her to explain the car dent. There was these people right here didn't cause.
Brian was walking by himself past the green car. Where did you come from?
I came back with him.
Just a minute. Brian is walking past the
Brian
green
walked
car.
past the car, and then I see him turn around and walk back to the car. I tried to catch up to him to see what his problem was. When I went up to the car, and he was trying to ask the girls who were calling him a name or something, Mitch stepped out of the car and told Brian that it wasn't him. I don't know, Brian was just a little upset about the girls laughing at him or calling him a name. So
Look at me!
These two started to fight a little, but I didn't see them fall on any car nor cause a dent to any car at
Thank
all.
you very much for your participation.
You're welcome.
Brian, your counterclaim is dismissed. It's nonsense.
Okay,
And as
thank you.
far as the damage to the plaintiff's car, there isn't a question in my mind that the two of you caused the damage to the car. You should have kept on walking past the green car. And Mitch, you shouldn't have gotten out of the green car.
And I just try to calm him down.
You shouldn't have gotten out of the green car. Whatever the situation was, the two of you were responsible for her damage. So, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $870 to be shared by the two defendants, and the counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If I dented the car, I must have been blacked out during the time because I can't recall it at all.
I believe that Judge Judy made the right decision.
Whatever happened, happened. Whatever the way the case went, it went. Everything works out the way it does.
If you know you didn't do anything wrong, make sure you got it right.
Stay in your house, lock your doors, and don't go outside so you don't get sued.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Payton versus Preston. Step forward, please.
Bill Paith is suing his former live-in girlfriend, home health care worker Margaret Preston, for a $2,000 cell phone bill. Margaret is countersuing for the return of her property and for harassment.
Mr. Paith, according to your complaint, the defendant and her daughter moved into your home. And at some point, you put her on your cell phone. She
Yes,
was
ma'am.
using a cell phone that you were responsible for. She and her daughter subsequently moved out, and she had accumulated several $1,000s in phone bills on the cell phone, and you believe she is responsible for those bills.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Preston says that there was never an agreement with regard to her repaying you for her cell phone use, and she has a counterclaim. She says that you kept some of her property when she moved out, and that you have embarked upon a campaign of harassing her. When and why did she and her daughter move in with you, sir?
We had, if you will use the term loosely, dated in the past for approximately a year. She is married. She'd been talking on many occasions the past fall about leaving her husband. She wasn't happy. We had talked on a few occasions about maybe trying to get together, start dating. I told her a few times, I got a 4-bedroom house, I live in a good neighborhood, I'm a single guy, move in with me, we'll see what happens.
Okay, continue, sir.
I got a U-Haul rental truck and moved her and her daughter into my house. This is December 21st, I believe. She was working some sort of home health care job. In the beginning of January, she made a comment. We felt it would be good. I agreed with her. She could use a cell phone for her job. She wasn't able to get one because of her credit. But I said, well, listen, we'll go out, we'll get you a cell phone. We'll put it under my name, my plan, because I already currently have one. What we need to do is you have to be able to pay for half the bill and anything above and beyond that. You use extra minutes, you're going to have to pay for that. I can't afford that stuff. She agreed. I went out, I bought her a $150 phone. January 9th, we had this plan started and purchased the phone. I had the phone shut off March 22nd. The phone bill was well over $2,000.
Can I see a copy of the phone bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you discuss the phone bill with her?
On a number of occasions. As far as the harassment...
No, I'm not getting there yet, sir. Let me take...
Yes, I did, and her statements to me all along have been, I don't have the money, but I will pay.
Is that right?
I had agreed to pay half, yes. But I was only told about $1,000. And I have one bill here of $189.
Who were you talking to?
Your Honor.
Who were you talking to?
People calling me about going different places for my work. I do home health care.
People calling you or you calling them?
Both.
She has 1 month with 874 calls. They are detailed, my phone number, my calls, her phone number, her calls. She has 874 calls in 1 month. That month alone, I believe the bill shows $1,080 in extra minutes alone.
Okay, the bills that you've given me are $1,635. Okay, now, I'm interested, Ms. Preston, because in your answer to this complaint, you say that you never had an agreement with him to pay this bill.
We had a verbal agreement that I would pay
Oh,
half.
you did?
But when I tried to, for instance, I bought groceries one time. My daughter was a witness to Bill going through the roof over the fact that I had bought groceries. He didn't want my money. And this
Well, that's what
happened
you
on
say in
Friday.
your answer, but now you say that you do have a responsibility to pay this phone bill.
But he would not accept my money.
Did you ever offer him money for the phone bill?
No, I did not have the $2,000. I never saw a $2,000 phone bill.
Okay, now you want to tell me about your counterclaim, please.
When I moved out, I recorded a conversation between Bill and I where he was off and on saying whether or not he was going to give me my stuff. At one point he said he'd give me my stuff and we'd just call it even. He threatened to hold my stuff, so to speak, hostage for $1,000 because that's what he said the phone bill was. He couldn't make up his mind about how much the phone bill was. I finally was able to talk him into letting me come in and get my stuff, and I got a U-Haul truck and some friends went over, got as much of my stuff as I could, and have discovered that there was a lot that I didn't get, and there were things that were ruined while I lived there. Because he has 3 dogs. They urinated or chewed my stuff up.
I'm not interested in what his dogs did to your stuff. You were living there. Voluntarily.
Yes.
His dogs
Your
pulled
Honor.
apart. Shh. Do I look like I need help?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, if you didn't like living there, you should have moved out, which you ultimately did, but then you don't sue him because his dogs damaged some of your stuff. What stuff do you claim he didn't give you?
I don't have an itemized list, Your Honor.
Well, then you don't get anything for that. So then let's go to the next part of your counterclaim, which was for harassment. You want to tell me about that?
I have a taped conversation. It's a very vulgar taped conversation.
Why
with
don't you
him.
tell me about it?
Just harassing me, telling me I can't have my stuff, cussing me out about
But he
a
ultimately gave you your
conversation.
stuff.
Some of it.
Is
He
that what you're
harassed my daughter.
Is that what you're talking about? Is that the harassment that you're talking
Yes,
about?
not only did he harass my daughter, but so did his witness.
His witness isn't on trial today, so you have no counterclaim. And he has a claim. That's the bills that he's presented to me are $1,635. That you get. Now, did you shut off the cell phone, sir?
Oh, yes, I did. I had it
That is
long ago.
very smart. That's all.
All these are excused. You may step out.
I try to do a good deed to help someone out. I get done wrong.
I'm very unhappy with it.
I'm just glad Judge Judy's on my side.
This man is a violent, vicious man. He's harassed me. He's harassed my 16-year-old daughter.
If you want to know the truth, I have some notarized statements and so forth. She harasses me at work.
I don't have time to harass him.
She harassed me also. She would call my house and tell my girlfriend that I was trying to hook up with her friend, and I'm just glad it's over.
No, that's not true.
She called my the big boss, if you will, and said I was waving a gun in her face threatening her.
He brandished a firearm at me and my daughter.
I think she's just looking for something to try to get me and make herself look good and myself the bad guy.
He has a gun fetish.
Well, I'd like to say don't help people out anymore, but that's not a lesson.
He needs to just leave us alone.
Radio dispatcher Susan Privet is suing the mother of her son's girlfriend, homemaker Allison Alley, for the cost to support her 16-year-old daughter.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 77 on the calendar in the matter of Privet versus Ali. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Ali, is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Is that your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Getting the picture. Going to be a familiar picture. Miss Privet, according to your complaint, the defendant's daughter, this young lady, moved into your house with your permission.
Yes, ma'am.
And I gather that she had gotten into a teenage snit with her mother and left the house, came to your house. When was that?
Right after my birthday in September of 2001.
Does she still live there?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, am I correct in assuming that the way you know her is through your son?
Yes, ma'am. They're boyfriend and girlfriend.
How lovely. And how old is your son?
He's 20.
You want the defendant to pay support
Yes, ma'am, I
for
do.
her 16-year-old daughter.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And she's been there since September, so coming on to a year. What do you have to say about that?
I have to say about that first of all, my daughter has a home with me. Second of all, I do take care of my daughter financially. I take her to all her doctor appointments. I pay for anything the insurance doesn't. I pay for her birth control. I'm not sleeping with her. I pick her up if
Miss
she
Ali.
gets sick from school.
Miss Ali.
I'm not going to give her money for my minor daughter
let me
to
ask
stay
you,
away
you
from
didn't-
home.
You're not following my
Well, I
problem?
didn't understand you then. What do
Because you
mean?
didn't let
No.
me finish.
I'm sorry.
Do you have other children at home?
No, I don't.
Who else lives in your home?
Just me and my boyfriend.
Does your daughter get along with the boyfriend?
She never gave him a chance to get along with him.
So the answer is no, she doesn't get along with him.
Mm-hmm.
Does he work?
Oh, she's a nurse.
Has she always lived with you?
Yes, she has.
Ever been out of your care for 16 years?
Yes, she has for
When?
a short period of time.
When?
For 3 months in the year of 2000. I was in a drug program for 90 days.
So there was a time when you were not doing much parenting for her.
Exactly.
About how many years was it that you weren't doing parenting for her?
It wasn't years. It was
Well, if
3
you went
months.
No. You didn't go into a drug program because you didn't have a problem. You had a problem, which is why you went into the drug program. So how long was your problem? A year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years,
Oh,
5
I'm
years?
sorry, 2.5 years.
So for a period of at least, if you say 2.5 years, it was probably more, you weren't doing much parenting for her.
No, it was 2.5 years.
Okay. Now, what about your daughter's father? Does he pay child support?
Yes, he does.
How much does he pay in child support?
It's $115 a week, but half of that is arrears, what he's owed me from $24,000 past child support.
Have you gone into court to seek the court's assistance in having your daughter returned to your house?
No.
Have you gone to the police to have your daughter returned to the house?
Yes, I did.
And at what time did you go to the police?
When she first left home.
Did the police go to Miss Privet's house?
No, they did not.
So after the police told you whatever they told you, you dropped it and did not go into the local family court, which would have jurisdiction over your daughter, to have her returned to your house?
That's correct.
Okay. Are you employed?
No, I'm not.
Stand up. Tell me your name.
Danielle Felix.
What happened when you left home?
What happened? What do you mean?
Why won't you tell me why you left home?
Well, my mom had a drug problem, and I didn't really like her boyfriend. He was too demanding and trying to be more of a father-like to me, but I've only known him for 3 years, 3 months, sorry, before then. And my mom was too busy with her other stuff. Like
What other
drugs
stuff?
and Drugs.
Was she still using drugs when you left home?
That's a lie.
Shh. What kind of drugs was she using?
Pain pills. She's been on pain pills for a while now.
What kind of pain pills, do you know?
Oxycontin, like Percocets, Vicodins.
Is that the nature of her drug problem before she went into rehab?
Yes.
Same pain pills?
Yes.
How long has your mother been doing pain pills?
Since I was about 13.
Prior to that, did you have any problem with your mother?
No.
At Miss Privet's house, do you share a room with your boyfriend?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Miss Privet, that's inappropriate.
Yes, ma'am, I know that.
That's inappropriate.
I know.
Why do you permit it?
At first, when she first moved in with us, she was sleeping on the couch, okay, and it was right next to my son's room. And when I went to sleep at night, I didn't know that they were together until one morning I woke up and I found them together. And, you know, I told them I had a problem with it, and they pretty much told me, well, Miss Allison Alley was buying their condoms and birth control pills, so I figured that it was, you know, okay, she was, I know it's wrong and it shouldn't happen, but I don't want to lie to you and tell you that they weren't
No, I
sleeping
know.
together.
I got it. I got it. I got it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have a sense that her mother is still abusing painkillers. Quiet!
Didn't say anything.
Good.
And later today.
That is a lie.
Did I look at you?
No, ma'am, she's lying.
But you're going to have a turn, Mr. Walton, and your turn will come when I say it's your turn.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Susan Privet says the mother of her son's girlfriend, Allison Alley, owes for child support. Susan claims Allison's 16-year-old daughter is now living with her.
Now, Miss Privet, I don't know what you want to do formally to make whatever custody arrangements you want to make, but I believe that if you want that child support regularly paid to you as legal custodian of Danielle, then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go to court to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is your father, Danielle?
My father's at home right now in Pompano.
Your father knows about your living condition?
Yes.
Do you visit with your father?
Once in a while.
Why?
He has his own girlfriend and too busy for me.
Are you going to school?
Yes.
Every day?
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Just about, yeah.
Ma'am, she
not just about. Just about is not every day. Yes.
Ma'am, okay. When Danielle first came to live with me, she was not going to school on a regular basis. Miss Alley was moving her around from place to place.
Really?
When she first moved in with me, she was going to Silver Lakes. Then she came to live with me, and we registered her at my son's school, which was Lions Creek Middle School. But she's 15 years old, and she was in the 8th grade, so we went down and we signed her up at what we call North Area School of Choice, where they work at their own pace.
Signed her up.
Excuse me. Okay.
Just a
yes,
minute.
ma'am. She did take her down because she's a legal guardian, so she had to take her down.
She actually took her down and registered her at school.
Both schools.
Everything for her.
Is that right? Did you register your daughter at both those schools?
Yes, ma'am. I do everything for her schooling,
Miss Ali,
getting her to school.
please. Please.
I have her
When she
attendance
registered her
record
at
here.
school, whose address did she give?
She gave mine, ma'am, and I have a
Can
letter.
I see
from
it,
the-
please?
It's just an envelope. I don't have the report card in there.
And this is your address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, Miss Privet, I want you to pay attention to me.
Okay.
Her father should not be paying child support to Miss Ali.
Correct.
The child support check should be coming to you if the court is going to give permission for her to stay with you. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, they may not, because they may not like the living arrangement.
Correct.
The truth of the matter is, what are you going to do with a 16-year-old? A 16-year-old doesn't want to stay someplace else. She can't stay with her mother. Mother's got her own bag of tricks. She can't stay with her father. Clearly, with the permission of both her parents, because they both know where she is, and her mother enrolled her in school giving your address.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, your lawsuit seeks $1,600 for money owed for child care. The truth of the matter is, you'd be entitled, in my judgment, to $4,600 because she's been with you for approximately 40 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
At $115 a week, that's $4,600. Quiet!
Didn't say anything.
Good. Now, you're not suing for $4,600, you're suing for $1,600. That you're going to get. But what you have to do is, if you want a formalized order so that you don't have to keep coming back to court for this, I would strongly suggest that you go into family court. Yes?
Okay, well, I had spoken with her father, and he said that he wanted the child support switched over to me, but he doesn't have the money for an attorney to go to court, and he said, so...
He doesn't have to. You can go to court on your own, seeking guardianship of the child.
Okay.
I have a sense that her mother is not going to contest it, because if her mother contests it, what will happen is they will determine that her mother, based upon her daughter's testimony, is still abusing painkillers. She had a history of substance abuse. They will send her mother for regular drug testing and drug screening. Her mother will not want to go for regular drug screening. And in all probability, they will permit her to stay with you. That's if you make different arrangements as far as where these two children sleep.
She'll
He's
sleep with
20,
me.
she's 16. That cannot continue. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's a wonderful child. She's part of my family.
All she does is allow a roof where they can have sex.
If you love your children, you should do everything in your power to try and keep them.
Don't lay back and hope your daughter's going to come home. Take legal action right away.
If Danielle would like me to, yes, I will.
Yes.
Then yes, we're going to go ahead with legal custody of Danielle.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Walkling versus McKnight. Step forward, please.
22-year-old waitress Brandy Walkling is suing manufacturing laborer Shane McKnight for the cost to repair her car. Shane says the damage was the result of a freak accident.
Miss Walkling, you do not know the defendant, is that correct?
Correct. No, I serve him every once in a while in the bar I work in.
But other than that, you have no relationship with him whatsoever.
Right.
It is your claim that his car hit and damaged your car.
Correct.
I want you to tell me when that happened.
That happened on March 8th.
Where?
In the parking lot at the bar that I work at.
What time?
I get off work about 1:30, 1:45 a.m.
Tell me what happened.
I walked out of the bar, just got off work, and I noticed the rear end of his car was like sitting about this far from the side of my car, which I'll show pictures in a minute. And it was running, and the reverse lights were on, and the keys were in it, obviously, and it was locked. And so I didn't know what to do. So we went and we got the police, and eventually Shane came back, and he went through the parking lot a couple times, obviously, because he had been drinking. And he had claimed that his car had went from this point in the parking lot here and reversed itself all the way into my car while he was gone getting his extra set of keys.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 22-year-old waitress Brandy Walkling is suing manufacturing laborer Shane McKnight for the cost to repair her car. Shane says the damage was the result of a freak accident.
So what he's saying is he locked his keys in the car. He wasn't in the car, and therefore he's not responsible if his car rolled and damaged your car. That's your defense. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
And the car, when you arrived back in the parking lot, was not where you had parked it.
That's
Is that right?
Yes.
The keys were locked in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
So clearly nobody had gotten into the car to drive it. It had to have rolled from one place to another.
I disagree.
Tell me what you think happens.
There was a bunch of people from the bar where he made an attempt to get into the car. There was a guy there with one of those Jimmy type of bars that goes in between the window and the door. Several attempts were made to get into the car using that. And so I left to go call a tow truck to have them come out and unlock the door. And by the time I got back, the car had moved into the position that she claims.
So so you don't know what happened to the car?
Well, I maintain that one of the guys that was using the Jimmy to make an attempt to get into the car did get into the car while I was gone, backed it up, staged the whole thing. That's
okay, so let me understand your defense, sir. Your defense is that while you were gone, one of the people that you had asked for help
yes,
had in fact gotten into the car, backed it up into her car.
Yeah, about 3 inches or so away. It wasn't even touching when I arrived.
Well, maybe it bounced off. She's not here because her car wasn't damaged.
Right.
She's here because her car was damaged. And then when he realized that he had backed it up into her car, got out, left the car running, and relocked the car.
Yes.
That's your defense?
Yes.
I want you to hum for me the theme from The Twilight Zone. Listen to me. I think I know what happened, Mr. McKnight. You left the keys in your car. The car was running. And you left to go get a tow truck. While you were gone, E.T. landed in the parking lot with his little finger. You know, that long finger? Managed to get in, unlock the car, but nobody could see him because you have to be under 10 years old to see him. Got into the car, backed into her car, right? And then The ship took off. Let me see pictures of the car, please. Nice. Show them to Mr. McKnight so he knows what he's going to pay for, and let me see the estimate.
I have 2 estimates here, and I'll give it to you.
Cheaper of the 2 estimates is $1,046.
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
Parties may phone home. Step out, please.
My car got hit, and I just wanted him to pay for it.
I just disagree with what the plaintiff alleges.
He was to just not call me back when I talked to him, and he wouldn't give me his insurance information.
Don't lock your car, keys in your car.
Deposits and the costs of a brunch.
Diamond, this is your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you were planning a baby shower?
It was actually a sip and see for her.
What is that?
So it's like family and friends weren't allowed to really come to the hospital, so we decided to have a little event after the baby turned 6 weeks.
Okay, so that was October 22nd.
Yes.
You hired Miss Gilmore as the caterer of that little event. She quoted you a price of $500 to cater the event, and you gave her a $250 deposit.
Correct.
Then some stuff bothered you a little bit because you, according to what I read, you found some either text messages or whatever, but sort of had it out with her. I don't want you to do this anymore, whatever. Anyway, you called her back and said, yes, I want you to do it. She ended up not doing this sip and see. And she finally called you and said, I'm not doing it. I don't like the attitude, I'm not doing it. And you said, fine, give me my $250 back. She said, no. So you're suing her for not only your deposit back, $250, you did hire other people to cater the event. Well, that you can't have. An offer and acceptance and a meeting of the minds. That was the contract. That doesn't have to be in writing.
We have a verbal agreement.
Diamond Thomas and Rumby Williams claim Rumby's former friend, Shamia Gilmore, owe for a deposit and the costs of a brunch.
Okay, you're going to tell me you chose not to do this shower? You chose not to do it.
Well, it's not that I didn't choose not to do it. It's she went to Twitter and threatened to beat
Twitter and said something nasty about you. Then I wouldn't do her baby shower, sip and whatever they call it. I wouldn't do it either. Then you have to give her back her $250.
And I bought items for the brunch already. I offered the mimosa bar back and I offered $125 back. She wants the whole thing. If I already spent money out my pocket, there's no way you think I'm going to give you a whole $250. That doesn't make sense.
Well, just a second. Okay. Let me see what she wrote about you on Twitter.
And also, I have the mimosa bar. I don't have it with me, but I didn't print anything off.
I don't even know what that is.
Bar.
What is a mimosa bar?
So it's where you put the mimosa glasses on it's a grass wall, but it has where you hang the cups up at on the wall with the mimosa glass, like the champagne flutes that you put on the wall. And then it has.
Have you used that before?
No, I bought one before, but I still have it brand new.
Just a second. Have you used it before? You're a caterer.
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
Quite a few.
How many?
2 hands, maybe 7 or 8 times.
Okay. And you buy a new one each time you use it?
Yes, ma'am. I let them keep it.
Just a second. You let them keep it. Well, now you can keep this one and use it next time.
Okay.
We had made anything threatening towards her.
No, just a second.
And she canceled on us. And so I feel that we didn't have enough ample time to be able to find another caterer to do our event.
Well, that's too bad.
Can I ask why?
Absolutely, because you're entitled to your money back, but your contract was for her to do a party, which she ended up not doing.
Can we see the contract? Because I don't.
No, you haven't. We
don't have the contract.
Yeah,
yes, you do. You gave her a $250 deposit. That's a contract. It's an oral contract. You had an offer. You had an acceptance. That's a contract. An offer and acceptance and a meeting of the minds. She was going to do the event for $500. You paid her $250. That was the contract. That doesn't have to be in writing.
We have a verbal agreement via
that's what
Instagram.
That's what I just said.
So it is in writing.
Who cares?
Well, it was the point that how are we supposed to be compensated for everything that we had to do after she canceled us?
Well, you have to grow up. You have a baby.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Is this your only baby?
Yes.
Great, you have a baby. You have to grow up. I grew up so much, the old me would have beat out one of you. What is that?
I'm not sure.
Would you show this to the plaintiff to show me something that you wrote?
You want me to read it?
No, I'm
or
just
you want me to
asking.
tell you what it is?
No, I'm just asking you if you were the author of that.
Yes.
And did you write it about?
It was just a general statement. It wasn't about anybody in particular. That's why I didn't
give that back.
Direct it. The name.
We're very, very easy. Your baby nice? You happy with your baby?
Yes.
Very good. You have nothing to do with her anymore?
No.
Good.
I don't agree with the judge's decision.
I'm satisfied with the $250 and knowing that Shamia was wrong to keep our deposit after she canceled on us.
It's just a lot of mess. I won't do business with them ever again.
It is what it is. If she felt some type of way, that's on her.
I'm gonna keep on doing what I'm doing.
We just won't ever do business with her again because she is very unprofessional, just like the tweet said.
Do you know it's an exciting day when at my age you learn something new?
We learn a lot of new things here.
Learn a lot of new things here. So I've just about mastered the engagement party, the wedding, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, quinceañeras, christenings, baptisms, baby showers if I have.
New thing. I think COVID probably played a role in it, about people not wanting to have big parties or interact with large numbers of people, especially before giving birth with all the hospital requirements. So I like the idea. I've only been to one or two, but the idea is you wait for your child to be about 6 weeks old, so they've been vaccinated, and
they're not vaccinated when you're 6
Well, the first round of baby shots, and then they're able to see family and have a baby shower where the baby is in
a car and lost wages.
Okay, Miss Cosby. According to your complaint, you parked your car near your home on a side street. You came out the next day and you found your car vandalized.
Mm-hmm.
Car was a 2017 Hyundai Elantra.
Correct.
Did you buy the car new or used?
Used.
And how much did you pay for the car?
I put a down payment of $1,350, I believe, $1,350.
So you financed the whole thing?
Yes.
And you have to have insurance on your car. You have to have liability, collision, all that other good stuff because you have a loan.
Right.
And you did have insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, came out, you looked at your car and it was vandalized. What was wrong with it?
The back window was shattered, and along the side passenger top quarter panel, back passenger door, and the passenger mirror, it was shot.
You have photographs of it?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Right here.
Okay. Did you notify your insurance company?
I did.
On what date?
And
okay, nothing with nothing. Okay, so you told the police about it on the 22nd.
Yes.
And when did you bring it in for the defendant to take a look at it?
That was August 18th.
She brought the car into you in August?
Yes.
And how long have you been in the auto repair business?
16 years.
So you've dealt with insurance adjusters before?
Yes.
And did you make the appointment for the insurance adjuster to come and look at the car?
They never came to look at it. Sometimes they just have me submit photos if they don't have anyone in the field to come look at the vehicle.
Okay. Now, when the plaintiff came in and brought you the car, did you have a discussion with her?
Yes, I did.
And I want you to tell me the best of your record.
Another shop, getting the repairs done.
Tell me what kind of problem you had with another shop.
It was no problems with the other shops, besides they didn't want to do the estimate on it and told me to talk to my insurance about it. And my insurance told me to find my own shop. And that's when I found it.
Just a second. Did your insurance company send you to the first shop that you went to?
Yes.
And for some reason, that first body shop was unsatisfactory to you. Mm-hmm. So you took it to the defendant. This is what the story is. The story is the defendant still has your car, right? Mm-hmm. And he's keeping your car because he says you didn't pay for the repairs. It's your position that you gave him the entire check from the insurance company. Is that your position? Speak. Be very careful what you tell me.
This is how her car looked when she brought her to me.
Oh, Miss Cosby, I have a feeling that you're not going to like the outcome of...
Shalea Cosby claims mechanic Kevin Warren owes for the repair cost of a car and lost
insurance company. Look, we're going to have trouble with each other, madam. Do you understand? This isn't the only check you got from the insurance company.
If you're talking about a check in 2020, that has no relevance to 2022 vandalism check.
I want to know how much you received from the insurance company.
$874.53.
Then can you tell me, I had a check from the insurance company, which was a little over $1,300 from their appraisal.
No, that's incorrect.
Well, that's what you wrote, madam. That's what you wrote. That's your signature. That's what you wrote.
I see the paper. The totaling was $1,374.53. I didn't receive a full $1,374.53 check from my. I got to him. I let him know what was going on, what I was going through.
No, not let him know. I asked you what you said to him and what he said to you. First of all, you didn't like the first place that the insurance company sent you to. I don't know why. All I know is when you're dealing with this kind of thing, everybody's trying to make a little bit extra. And it's been my experience, and maybe I'm wrong, that when you have a little accident, you take your car into a body shop. Very often, if that's their business, they say, this is what you want fixed, this is what the damage was. And the person who runs the body shop or the owner of the body shop will say to you, I'll take whatever the insurance is, I'll work with the adjuster. Mm-hmm. That's what they usually do. Correct, sir?
Yes.
Yes. And in this case, is that what happened?
No.
Is what I'm asking you. Because your complaint is that he has your car, won't give it back because he's put a mechanic's lien on it because he says that he did $6,000 worth of work on the car.
He did work that was not approved by me nor my insurance.
I'm just telling you. That's what he says. He did $6,000 worth of work on the car.
Okay.
Okay? But I have to tell you, Mr. Warren, that has been it means that whatever your insurance company gives you, they'll send me the check. That will be what I'm going to accept for the work. Now, what you're suggesting is that she authorized you to do $6,000 worth of work, and you didn't speak to the insurance company.
I spoke with them plenty of times.
Oh, what did they tell you that they were sending her?
I have it here.
I'd like to see it.
I have 3 estimates here.
No, I want to see from the insurance company.
They're the insurance company estimates, not mine.
I'd like to see it.
Okay, here's the first one. Like she said, when she first brought her car to me, she had this one already for $873. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then what we do when we see more damage, we put what you call a supplement in. So I put a supplement in, and that's when they told me she has 2 claims. She has a claim for 4. Mm-hmm. So these other 2 are for the auto body portion.
Not for the vandalism.
No, it's 2 different claims.
When she brought you the car, was there body damage on the car?
Absolutely. This is how the car looked when she brought this to me.
I'm not just talking about that. Can I see, please?
This is how her car looked when she brought it to me.
Oh, Miss Cosby, I have a feeling that you're not going to like the outcome of this.
Oh, no, I'm legit all the way around.
Oh,
so
really?
And those are the afterwards
Just
pictures.
a second. Just a second. This car was in a bad accident.
Yes, correct.
This car was in a bad accident. Hey, this car was in a bad accident shortly after you got it.
Correct.
Right. And you got a check from the insurance company to fix this.
Correct.
How much was the check that you got from the insurance company to fix this?
The total in amount, I'm not sure, but I think it was like 2001 or 2002.
And you didn't have it fixed.
No one wanted to fix it.
Well, he fixed it. Just a second. Hey, Miss Cosby, he fixed it.
Without my approval.
What did you do with the $2,000?
Oh, I paid my own personal bills because no one wanted to fix the car, so I have to keep living.
Your case is dismissed.
Okay.
How's that? Because you had an accident in 2020, you got a check from the insurance company to fix it. I don't know how much that check was because you don't have a copy of that check. You brought the car into him and said, now I have a broken back window. I have a feeling, and I know it's only a feeling, but this is my program so I can vent that feeling, that you went to the first place to fix the car and you said to them, I want you to fix the front and the back, and they said no. That was for something else. You already got paid for
incorrect.
that. So you went to him.
An estimate altogether.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
You don't have to.
I don't. Well, I don't. I don't
have to.
That's why your case is dismissed.
That's fine.
Now I'm getting to your counterclaim. Because you put a mechanic's lien on the car?
Yes, I have it here.
Great. So you've got a mechanic's lien on it. She can't sell it. I'm not giving it back to her.
And it just says
I can't.
To turn over.
Oh.
It says she has no more interest in the car.
I can't. She does have an interest. The car's got a lien on it, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay? You're going to have to pay off this note. Do you understand? I don't think you're going to be able to get the money after you pay off the note. But you fixed the car.
Absolutely.
And I think that you're entitled to money for fixing the car on your counterclaim. She's going to pay on your counterclaim because I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to get any money on this car. I don't know what's going to happen with this car. I'm just not returning it to her. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to make you as close to whole as you can be because I think what happened to you was a hustle. That's what I think.
Usually I don't side with mechanics. it's just been my experience. But I think that...
I'm glad you changed today.
I think that this is a hustle. $3,800, judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim. Thank you very much. We're done.
Adjourned.
Oh, I appreciate her decision. I believe she paid me like she was supposed to do, but I guess once she got the money, she changed her mind. All mechanics aren't bad.
That was a surprise.
That was.
For me.
Did not think it was going to go that way when we reviewed it earlier.
When we talked about it, I looked at it. When we spoke about it, I said, you know, sort of using my life's history. Take the car in, don't worry, I'll work with the insurance company, does a little bit more work. The insurance company sends a check for a little less. But he wasn't at fault. She was the hustler.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to make an extra quick buck like a lot of mechanics that we've seen. He did the work.
He did the work. Because she didn't bring the car in there just for the back windshield. It's a hustle.
It seemed that way. As soon as somebody says, oh, that thing from then has nothing to do with why we're here now, immediate red flag.
Bing, bing.
Yeah.
The two cats.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Case 2170, Jolie versus Calderon Nepomuceno.
Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, my goodness. Calderon.
Hello.
What's your first name?
Amante.
Amante.
Yeah.
Good. It's much easier than your last name for me to pronounce. Mr. Giglio, this roughly is what the case is about. You and Miss Calderon were in a relationship for a period of time. You decided to take an apartment. You were both on the lease. So far, correct?
Correct.
Your arrangement with Miss Calderon, which seems to be consistent in both your complaint and your answer, is that you had a much better paying job. She was going to provide the food and some other stuff for the house, and you were going to be covering the rent when you lived together, which you did.
Correct.
There came a time when Armante, who was a friend of yours, came to live with you. According to you, he was going to help out with the rent.
Correct.
He came, he lived with you, he helped out with the rent on. She stayed in the apartment for a period of time, but then they both left.
Correct.
And you're suing both of them for rent and for the return of 2 cats that they took when they left. You claim the cats are yours.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. And some cat expenses in the event that I let them keep the cat. Cats. 2 cats. So when did you and Miss Calderon sign a lease together?
We signed the lease together at the end of July with the landlord present.
July of 2022?
July of 2021. Correct.
And it was for a year?
Correct.
And you had a job working for whom, sir?
I worked for a company called Steris.
What do they do? To the apartment in July of 2021, what kind of work was Miss Calderon doing?
At the time, she was working at an animal hotel.
It was a pet daycare boarding facility.
Okay. Were you an hourly employee?
I was an hourly employee.
And I am correct that when you moved in July, your arrangement was that you were going to pay the rent.
That was...
The arrangement.
Correct.
When did Armante come to live with you?
About August to...
That's
right.
Correct.
Shh.
He...
Just...
Amante was going to be our 3rd roommate.
You mean 1, 2, 3?
Correct.
Well, you're not roommates, really. You and the defendant, Miss Calderon, were not roommates. You shared a room.
We shared a room and...
And Armante was going to live where?
In another room.
And what was your arrangement with Armante with regard to paying rent?
We would split the rent 3 ways.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And how much was your share of the rent?
Holding.
Well, you didn't sign the lease.
I did not.
But you were there from the beginning?
Yes. And
it was your agreement with the plaintiff that you would pay 1/3 of the rent?
Yes.
Great.
We asked the landlord
Okay, so, hey, try not to hold each other's hands. Let's do the coochie someplace else. So you agreed with the plaintiff that despite the fact that you were not on the lease, you were going to assume the responsibility of 1/3 of the rent, $927.
Yes.
So you moved in July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. You left in April?
Yeah.
So you were there for 9 months?
Yes.
Did you pay rent for the 9 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Because he decided to go to another place he was offered.
What do you mean he decided to go to another place?
He
that was...
got a place from his grandparents in another city. So I couldn't hold down the rent with her, so I decided to leave to save money and go back to my parents' house.
Now, Mr. Jalil, you see, you don't make up a story like that, like he just told me. A lot of that has the ring of truth to it. Where are you living now?
My grandparents' house in an in-law unit.
So when did you tell them that you were going to a different place?
In March.
When did you leave?
I left in July.
Did you let him know that you were staying until the end of the lease?
I
what?
I discussed with them that I would be leaving, but I would stick around to help them find either a different location or even suggesting that we all went back to our respected families just to, call it.
Mr. Jalil, this isn't working for you. I have to tell you something, sir. This case is not working for you at all. And you were going to pay the rent. You were never out of pocket. Your agreement was you were going to pay the rent. He paid his rent when he was there. He paid his 1/3. You then told them you were leaving. That's a whole different story than what you wrote in your complaint, Mr. Jalil. Do you understand?
Correct.
It's a whole different story. So, at best, Armante would owe you for 3 months' rent if they just left. But you told them that you were leaving. Now, when did you find out that they were a couple?
I found out at the end of April.
Were you all living together?
Yes.
So you just had 2 months left to the lease. So he was paying you. He paid you in March. You had May, June. You signed the lease in July, so it was over at the end of June, June 30th.
It would have been over at the end of July, Your Honor.
Well, she doesn't owe you any money for rent. At most, he owed an expensive apartment. It was almost $3,000 a month rent. Had you had a discussion with Armante about moving in with you before?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Jalil, I'm reading your complaint because something wasn't registering right with me. You say you moved into the apartment together in August of 2021. Then you go through a whole bunch of stuff about a cat and then another adopted cat. You said in October we adopted a second cat. Around the same time, a third roommate moved in to shoulder some of the rent. Well, that's not true. He moved in right at the beginning.
And that was...
That was what?
That was...
a mistake.
That was a mistake.
Okay. But Armante acknowledges that he agreed right at the beginning. He volunteered the fact that he was there at the lease signing because it was agreed at the lease signing that he was going to pay a third of the rent. So, sir, you owe him rent as long as you show me that you've paid the rent. You moved out in July?
Yes.
And you paid your rent through July, or were you evicted?
No, I paid my rent in July.
Through July?
Yes.
Okay.
That's fair.
What were you requesting when you filed your small claims case?
Either the return of both cats or $5,000.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Jalil.
Kamar Jalil claims his former roommates, Katie Calderon and Amante Nepomuceno, are wrongfully keeping his cats and owe him rent money.
Now let's deal with the issue with the cats. She doesn't owe you any rent. That was not your agreement with her. You moved out in July. August, September, October, November, December. 5 months ago, she's had both cats, right?
Correct.
She says they're her cats. When did you first file a small...
Either the return of both cats or $5,000, which was the accumulated expense of not just the cats, but also the expenses of her dogs as well. So any animal expenses for the time.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Jalil. When the cats were either registered or went to the vet, whose name is on the sheet as owner?
I believe it was Miss Calderon.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And she owns the cats, and she's had them for the last 5 months. I suggest that you go and adopt 2 more if you want some more cats. Do you understand?
Yes.
You were living together as a couple. However, your friend Armante has to pay you for the couple of months' rent that he didn't because he says, not you, he volunteered that was your agreement from the very beginning. So he owes you $1,854. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think he's just kind of butthurt that I moved on.
At least now I can put everything behind me and say that I did try.
I didn't think it would risk
that people will write and or be assisted in writing a complaint and an answer. But they read it over. This man is an intelligent man. He has a serious job for 8 years. First of all, he was suing for $10,000. Come up with that money. $5,000 for the cat's expenses, ridiculous. But his complaint had really nothing to, even the timeline.
As your clerk, I know that is a pet peeve of yours when
I don't understand
they
it.
don't match up.
If you're going to tell a lie,
at least tell a consistent lie.
Right.
I think the right thing happened. I think the defendant friend admitted himself that he owed the rent, and that was great, even though he probably should have just kept his mouth shut.
And not said, I was there when the lease was signed. This was always our agreement.
Yeah.
I was going to be the
but
third
he was
roommate.
honest, which we always appreciate. And
All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2175, Grimm versus Lee.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Miss Grimm, in what state do you live?
Missouri.
In what county?
Jackson.
You have a daycare center.
An in-home childcare, yes.
For how long?
I started September of 2022.
What is your house like?
I have a single-family home with a finished basement and then like an attic type. It's 2 bedrooms.
House has 2 bedrooms?
No, up in the attic has 2 bedrooms. It's technically a 3-bedroom house, but it has made 6 rooms.
And how many children do you have?
I currently have 7.
How old are they?
14, 13, 11, 8, 5, and 3, and 1, 18 months.
3 and 18 months.
I'm sorry, she's 4 now. She just turned 4.
So the older ones go to school. Does the 5-year-old go to school?
Yes.
And the 8-year-old goes to school?
Correct.
So you have 2 little ones at home?
My 4-year-old goes to early childhood, half a day.
So you have 1 child at home during the day?
Correct.
And 1 half a day?
Yes.
And you have 3 children?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
I now have a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 5-month-old.
And those were the children that you enrolled in her daycare center?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Grimm, what kind of licensing do you have, an application that you have to make in order to run an in-home daycare center in Missouri?
So in the state of Missouri, as long as you have under 6 children, you do not have to have a license.
As long as you have 6 children in total in the house, or 6 children
that I'm watching?
That you're watching?
Correct. Because my school children are not considered watching, like under the law.
Well, you certainly have to watch your 18-month-old.
Yes, he's the only one. That's why I've always kept 5 children or less.
It is your claim that Miss Lee entered her children into your program. She paid you for a certain period of time. She owes you for 2 weeks.
Correct.
And were those 2 weeks that her children were actually...
Correct.
Miss Lee, were the children in Miss Grimm's program the last 2 weeks in October?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
Did you pay her for the last 2 weeks in October?
No, ma'am, I did not.
How much were you supposed to pay her?
For the last 2 weeks was supposed to be $600 because our agreement was $600 every 2 weeks.
Okay, so it was supposed to be $600.
Yes, ma'am.
So now the ball is in your court so far. Ms. Grimm, we're not talking about a late fee. We're just talking about these 2 weeks.
Correct.
First, tell me your reason for removing the children.
I removed my children out of her care because my children, every time that I picked them up, it was either they were harmed or injured, or my son, my 3-year-old, would tell me something had happened while I was gone at work in her care. My son had told me on numerous accounts that she hit him herself, and then he also told me that her 15-year-old son, or 14, I'm sorry, had also spanked him. And when I did ask him, well, I asked her, actually, I said, who is Trey? Because he said, Mommy, Trey hit me. We were getting in the car. They normally do help me get in the car with my 3 children, seeing I have one who's barely walking.
You get going all over the place.
Yes, ma'am. So they normally help me get in the car with my children, so they were outside with us. And my son said, Mommy, Trey hit me like this. I didn't know any Trey, so I asked her, who is Trey? And she said, that's my son. And he said, that's me. He was standing right there next to her. He said, I'm Trey. And I said, Bryson said that you hit him. And he said, yes, I hit Bryson. He said, I popped him because Bryson wasn't doing right. Bryson didn't want to go to timeout.
On what day was that?
That was on October 20th.
3-year-old said that he slapped the 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. You let him stay there for an extra 2 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Just that's it, yes. Now, where were you working that you had your children in daycare?
I was working as a CNA.
What is that?
A certified nurse's assistant.
Where?
It's a
nursing
like a
home?
Rehab. Yes, ma'am.
When did you start working there?
I started working there in September.
September of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Beginning of September?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you stop working there?
I stopped working there October 27th. That was my last day.
If I were to call, would they tell me that they terminated you or you quit?
I quit.
Did you quit on the 27th?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about now? Are you working?
I am.
Who are you working for?
I work through a temp agency, working per diem at different locations as a CNA.
And who takes care of your children?
My stepmom. My children,
Just a second. And when did you start that job?
I started that job about 4 weeks ago.
So in December?
Yes, ma'am. Late November or so.
You left the children there until the end of October. It couldn't have been so disturbing for you, madam, to leave the children there until the end of October, another 6 weeks, if you felt as if they weren't getting adequate care. And if you did, that would be on you.
Shanice Grimm claims her client, Dallas Lee, refused to pay for child care services. Dallas is countersuing for lost wages and emotional distress.
So a relative has been taking care of your children?
Yes, ma'am. Not all three of them. I had to send my 2 sons because I had to rearrange my daycare situation. I had to send them back to Texas to be with their dad.
So 2 of them went back to their father?
Yes, ma'am.
And who do you live with here?
I live with my dad.
What does he do? Why you didn't pay her for the last 2 weeks?
So my children began in her care September 12th. September 13th, she sent me a text message while I was at work, and she said, I want to let you know, Lil Mama was bit today by my 1-year-old on her cheek. She sent me a picture. I have this.
Not interested. Okay. I mean, it's not that I'm disinterested. It's that don't show me anything from September, madam. You kept your children with her into October and through the end of October. And if anything was so concerning to you that you thought your children would be at risk, I'm certain that you would have discussed it with your father, and your father would have said to you, don't speak. Okay. And your father would have said to you, if you have a problem with the children, don't let them stay there. What you did, okay, I can see that you're dying to tell me something. What?
Yes, ma'am. My daughter had no other choice but to keep her children in care because I work a full-time job.
Let me explain something to you, sir. Mm-hmm. Your daughter was living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. There is always an alternative, sir. I have young grandchildren, and I would say if I was legitimately concerned for their health and safety, I don't care what it is, stay home and take care of your children. You'll have a roof over your head until you find appropriate daycare. And if you didn't do that, then you're not much of a grandfather.
Well,
you can't use something that happened in September or early October to say, well, that's why I didn't pay the last 2 weeks. So you can't make excuses, sir. I'm telling you, I'm a grandmother and I've had little children. I don't care what you had to do. Quit my job, whatever that job is, and say, we'll all stay home and take care of the children until you find, or you stay home and take care of the children. I'll provide you with.
In our estimation at that time, we were giving her some hard life lessons because she does now have 3 children, and there are going to be some difficulties in this living situation. There are going to be some things. So what we're doing, we're giving her some tough love and saying, hey, you cannot give up just because the chips are down or because things happen. You have to try to figure things out.
Well, that would be on you. That's not on her. This is not her daughter. It's your daughter.
Absolutely.
And your grandchildren, sir.
Absolutely.
And if you want to teach her some real hard lessons and say, you got to stay with the daycare, even though you're dissatisfied.
We said give her a chance because it was the first day.
So.
It was the first incident, first day. We said give her a chance. Things happen sometimes.
What I don't want to hear is from you, who seem like a very intelligent man, a working man, is my daughter had no choice. Your daughter has a choice. Her choice is to say to you, Dad, please, I have to find the right daycare. I have to stop working at this job. I may need a month. You may not have liked her previous irresponsible behavior, right?
Correct.
But the deed is done. She got 3 young children.
Beautiful children.
Right? So what you do is when you have 3 young, beautiful children, you protect them.
Absolutely.
And if you're not smart enough to protect them yourself, you got to rely on your father who's smart enough to do that. What I'm saying to you is your daughter used this lady's services and she has to pay for it. She may not send her children back, but your statement that you were so anxious to make to me, which is my daughter had no choice, she did have a choice, sir. She did have a choice. Before I would let my children stay in a place where I actually believed that they were being abused, because that's what she's suggesting. I mean, she's not suggesting that this young man, who I'm not condoning hitting a 3-year-old, gave him a slap on the rear end. I'm not condoning that. But there were no injuries to him. I don't know whether you've done it. I don't know whether she's done it.
Just throw in the towel, because Ms. Graham was just starting her service up. And
September 5th.
So we understand that there are going to be some hiccups and some things that she has to fix as she comes across them. And so she's a young lady. My daughter's a young lady. So as an older man, I'm trying to support 2 individuals to build their lives up. And so I told my daughter, I don't like that she was bitten, but at least she came forward very quickly and told you. So leave them there for now. And if anything else transpires, then we can start to look at things then. Yes, ma'am.
Who do you work for, sir?
I work for the Veterans Administration.
And how long have you worked for the Veterans Administration?
21 years.
Do you get paid every 2 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's say your boss at the VA all of a sudden decided they didn't like the work you were doing. And you left and they owed you 2 weeks' pay because you had actually worked for the 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
And you sued them for those 2 weeks. You worked there. You said, well, we didn't like the quality of his work for those 2 weeks. Well, then you fire him, but you pay him. It's like going to a restaurant. My favorite analogy is you go into your favorite restaurant where you get a steak. And you order a steak, medium, Pittsburgh medium. Steak comes, you cut into it, you take a bite. Oh my God, you say, I don't like the way this tastes. You take the plate, you spit out the bite if you're smart. Call the waiter over and say, this is a bad steak, right?
Absolutely.
And the waiter takes it off the bill, or you order something else. Now you cut into that same steak. You taste, you say, this tastes terrible. Maybe the next bite will taste better. Before you know it, you've finished the whole steak. Waiter comes over to take your cleaner. Send it back. But your daughter ate the steak. She used her services for 2 weeks and didn't pay her.
Well, we can't say that she used her services because there are other pieces of evidence that we have.
Well, you mean you're talking about that sometimes she left the children with her husband?
Yes.
Yeah. Baloney. Your daughter had the benefit of daycare so that she could work. If you're not satisfied with the service, you stop using the service. If you continue to use the service despite the fact that you're not satisfied with it, you gotta pay for it. That's America. You got paid, your father got paid, she gets paid.
Shanice Grimm has accused her client, Dallas Lee, of refusing to pay for child care services. Dallas claims Shanice wrongfully disciplined and neglected her children.
Your daughter had the benefit of daycare so that she could work.
Absolutely.
And she had the benefit of daycare from this lady that enabled your daughter to make money.
But if we're talking breach of contract, the contract was breached when the husband watched the child. And
now you're not teaching your daughter responsibility. Now you're making excuses. Now you're not teaching your daughter responsibility. Your daughter worked to make money. You worked those last 2 weeks, didn't stay home with your grandchildren. You made money.
Absolutely.
The only one that didn't make money and had her 3 children for those 2 weeks was the plaintiff. She ate the steak. She used the service. She didn't have anybody else. It's not as if, well, I had to hire somebody else to take care of the kids the last 2 weeks, even though it was in my deal. So that's why I'm not paying them. She worked, you worked, she worked. And if her husband, if she ran out to the store and left her husband, unless you're telling me that that was such a breach of the agreement that your daughter took the children out of her program. Did she? Dad, can you help me out for the next couple of weeks until I find something else? But you can't eat the steak, which she did. Now you can sit down.
Can I say one more thing?
Not if you want to continue to look foolish. Now you're not teaching her responsibility.
Well,
now you're not teaching her responsibility. I don't want to have to teach you responsibility.
Well, you don't have to. I'm a veteran. I know what responsibility is. But when you are promoting your program as one thing, but your service is another, I cannot say that if Bobby Flay is cooking the steak.
It doesn't matter who was cooking the steak. It was whether you ate the steak. It's whether you ate the steak.
I get what you're saying, Judge. But if it's promoted as Bobby Flay cooking it and Bob Burger cooked it, and I don't like the taste, then those are two different things.
Oh, no, sir. If you're promoting Bobby Flay as cooking the steak and you find, or the hamburger, and you find out that Bobby Flay's younger brother was cooking the steak or was cooking the burger, and by the way, if the burger is no good, you're not going to eat it. But you can't eat it and say, well, I really thought I was getting a Bobby Flay hamburger, and I didn't get a Bobby Flay hamburger, so I'm not going to pay for it, even though I ate it. Now you can sit down. How much is 2 weeks' worth of care? $600?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $600. You have a counterclaim. Counterclaim is ridiculous. Money owed for lost wages, emotional distress on behalf of the children. You shouldn't have emotional distress on behalf of the children, madam. You're their mother. The first time you had an inkling that you felt that your children, your young children, were being neglected in the plaintiff's care, what you should have done was remove them. Remove them. First time bitten by her little one. See, that's not watching them carefully enough, because they, I think, are supposed to be separated, correct?
Yes.
No, we were all in one room, so they weren't having to be separated, because with me only having less than 4 children, there was no way of separating because there was only one me.
It's a big responsibility to take care of little children.
Correct.
My daughter shouldn't have been in his reach. She did tell me that she left out of the room.
I agree with you.
She left out of the room is what she told me, Judge. So that's actually not true. She told me that she left out of the room and went to the kitchen.
What day? Give me the date that happened.
September 13th.
You left the children there until the end of October. It couldn't have been so disturbing for you, madam, to leave the children there until the end of October, another 6 weeks, if you felt as if they weren't getting adequate care. And if you did, that would be on you. And maybe a little bit on your father. Because if you told him about it, said, oh my God, that's terrible. Take my child out right away. All 3 of them. But you didn't. You left them in there September 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, all the way up until the end of September and the end of October. That's on you.
Actually, she did not have them in the end of September because she was suspended from her job. So they were gone for 2 weeks in September.
Were you suspended from your job?
I was. I had to...
That's my question. You were suspended from your job. When you were suspended from your job, did you take the children out of daycare?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's reasonable. She didn't give you a problem with that, I assume.
No.
And you didn't pay for those 2 weeks?
I did not.
Great. Well, these 2 weeks you're going to pay for. Because
I don't believe I owe her anything.
I don't care what you believe. If you're not listening to what I'm saying to you and you're fixed in your opinion, that means you haven't learned anything. Your father tried to teach you a little bit of tough love. What I'm telling you is, if you work, you get paid. If you're not satisfied with the father got paid, she gets paid. She didn't get paid for the 2 weeks you took your kids out. Didn't say to you, well, you have to pay me anyway. I have to keep this open for you. That was very fair. Took the kids out, didn't pay. You left your kids in, you pay $600. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I am a little upset she didn't see things my way.
The judge was kind of in my favor for the majority of it.
You know, her leaving my children in the care of her 15-year-old son and also her husband.
And why did she continue bringing her children to me for another month?
Also, my son letting me know that, you know, she hit him.
I have never touched her children. I could take a lie detector test to prove it.
It was pretty difficult for me because I didn't have any other choices. I didn't have anyone else who could help me with keeping all 3 of my children while I work.
She actually never gave me excuses. She actually just told me she was going to pay me.
Life is not easy.
If you work, you should get paid.
But you get back up and you keep moving.
My generation, I'm not sure about yours, I haven't had much experience in yours, but in mine, I think we confuse having to make a hard choice with being out of options. Here, I felt for the defendant. She had to make a hard choice. But even when her father came up and felt the need to burst out and say, my daughter had no options, she had no choice. Well, she did have a choice. It was a hard choice. You had to send your 2 older sons to live with their father and find a sort of mediocre, at best, childcare situation. But you made the choice to have those 3 children. And when you have children, you make a commitment to make the hard choices to benefit them.
In their best interest.
In their best interest. And if you're not prepared to do that, then you shouldn't become a parent.
In any event, I tried to make my steak analogy. It didn't.
I thought it was great.
Okay.
I had a great